Welcome to the Plains Regional Regatta sponsor here at Wichita State University, the sponsor here today, and we're happy to be here with you, telling you about what's going to happen. It's going to be a beautiful day for racing, it looks like. With me, my name is Dave Wilson. We have Lisa Burns and Ellen Cupp here in the booth. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Great day for rowing.
You think so? Great day for rowing?
Love it.
Looks like it. And we also have with us at the starting line today, Aaliyah Funchel. Aaliyah, hello there.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing great. Now, what are you going to be doing there at the start this morning for
So
us?
here at the start, I'm going to make sure all of the boats are lined up and ready to go, and then also calling the starts so then you guys down there know when they're off.
All right, very nice. We'll be working a lot with Aaliyah this morning. Let's get to know our Wichita State rowers here first for just a few minutes. We'll start with Lisa. Lisa, tell us about your career as a shocker rower.
Yes, well, I joined the team in the fall of 2008, and I graduated in May of 2011, and so I was a coxswain for most of that time. And then I did hang out and stick around to volunteer for a few years after that. And one of the highlights of that volunteering time was the San Diego Crew Classic, and getting shocker rowing on the ocean was just amazing to see.
I can imagine. Now,
Yes.
Tell us what a coxswain does for those of us that don't know.
A coxswain is the most important person on a team.
According to Lisa.
Yes. They are the coach in a boat, and they are the ones making the calls for the race piece or for practices, and they're the ones calling out various technique changes that maybe a rower needs to be making. They're steering straight. They're making the tightest turns. They're being strategic about where they want that boat to go. They know their rowers. They're making the right calls in a race plan so that it really motivates their rowers in the right way to really boost up the power when they need to, or calm themselves. Also, like if something maybe stressful is going on, to bring the focus back in the boat and get them through that race course in the best way and the fastest way possible.
Kind of like the quarterback of the team for football fans.
Sure.
Right?
I'm going to say
the
yes.
brains
I'm
of
going
the
to trust
operation.
you. I'll trust you. Yeah. It's like the brains and the rowers are the muscle, but it definitely all goes together.
Listen, some of us have brains too.
You need the peanut butter and the jelly. It's a little bit of both. But yeah, they just serve a different purpose for sure.
So Ellen, I take it by your comments, you were a rower.
Yes, I was a rower. I actually am the coach's daughter, so I grew up around the sport, got to see it from start to finish to where we are now. I had the privilege of being able to actually row in the brand new boathouse that we're at here today at the River Vista Complex. Got to see boats and bikes come up, did a lot of different stuff. I wasn't a coxswain, I was a rower. So yes, we are the bronze of the boat. We are what makes it move, what makes it go, but what she said too, the coxswain just being the coach of the boat. When you're out there on the water, you have the person in front of you, behind you, and your coxswain, and that's it. You got to make the decisions out there and just, give it your all and know what you're doing at that point. So she's right. They are like the quarterback of the team.
It all works together, right?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Okay, Aaliyah, tell us about your connection with shocker rowing this morning, too.
So I was actually a rower at Wichita State as well. I rowed my senior year of high school for Wichita Rowing Association, so I fell in love with the sport immediately. I didn't have this new boathouse, unfortunately. I was old school, but I still love this program, and I'm so glad to be around it today.
Very nice. Let's talk about the weather conditions before we get started here with the first race here in a few minutes. About 63 degrees, not much wind. Pretty good day for rowers, right?
Exactly, and the flow rate, when I checked it a short while ago, was 424 cubic feet per second. So it's just a nice steady flow, nothing too dangerous, obviously, and just a normal river flow today.
15 miles per hour for the wind under a cloudy sky, so it's not going to get too hot today. I think we're looking at probably temperatures during the race upper 60s, maybe if it gets that warm. So pretty ideal conditions.
Absolutely. And that last little bit of a breeze, it's really going to help at the very end, give it that last push right there towards the finish and at the start. Those first 500 meters are going to be so crucial, and hopefully you can get a good tailwind to help them get going.
Yeah, it's flowing in the right direction for them for this race. Yes,
absolutely.
For sure.
Let's talk about what are the rowers thinking right now. The first rowers, as they're in their boats, ready to go. What are they going through mentally?
checking their straps for their feet, making sure they don't pop out on that first push. That's what I would be doing.
Is that right?
Coxswains are making sure to get a good alignment in their lane, which we don't have a full buoyed course, but they do have lanes that they need to follow. And those coxswains, if you see them raise their hand, that means they do not have a point yet, and they're actively working towards getting a point. When they put their hand down, it's to signify that that boat is fully ready.
Yes, and so just as a visual reference, so we've obviously got Wichita State over there in the yellow boat with the black and yellow unitards on. It looks like we're actually going to be doing the women's 4 for the first race too. And then Indiana over here in the white shirts, they're actually going to be using Wichita State's equipment for this. We're so thankful that they were able to come down and do that. Pretty common actually for other teams to use equipment when they travel, so that way they don't have to stress about bringing it, weather conditions, storing it, things along those lines. I mean, it's kind of hard to take these rowing shows that fit 8 people, and
it's a very equipment-centered sport, so it definitely is a favor and nice when you do get to borrow or use another team's equipment.
Off.
So here we go. Start
All right, Leah, what's the
sequences.
call?
those first 500 meters are really going to be crucial here.
So if you're we are seeing Indiana veer over. Looks like they might be stretching their lane a little. They're having to hold water on port side to make sure they do not fully hit the shore. Wichita State's going to keep rowing, but it looks like the coxswain from Indiana University did not have a point or did not steer accurately, and they did.
The boat's actually sinking.
They may not have a porthole filled in. I wonder if anything was going on their warm-up. So they are launching about to almost the full race course. They launched that way all the way up, so I wonder if any water was gathering prior.
Right. Especially on that warm-up. Looks like they're getting pushed off the shore right now.
And all right, we're going to take a look at that on a replay to see if we can figure out what was going on there at the start of the race.
Looking to see if anybody misses a stroke or catches a crab, but it does just look like a steering issue. It could be that the fin is broken or the steering line could have been loose, but it doesn't even look like that. That coxswain is leaning, which isn't a good sign. It means that the steering was out of their control and they could not get a hold of the boat on those first few strokes.
So you think that it's more likely an equipment malfunction?
With that stern of the boat, look how low it's getting. That's far from normal, and so it does. I would lean that way, but it's hard to tell on those first strokes because you have the example that maybe his port side was just a less stronger of a rower, and his starboard sides maybe they were just so strong that they pushed it. But they're back on the water again. Let's see the boats get alignment, and I think they'll just restart since this happened so soon after the race started. You can do a restart. So
okay, yeah, Aaliyah, tell us what you're seeing there from the starting line.
So Wichita State is now turning around to go back, and it looks like they are going to restart, I believe. They're going to be starting from a new location, though, so not the full 2,000 meters.
Okay.
And that'll help save time because they've already, you want to keep the racing on track. So if crews are in agreement, you are able to just get another point shortly right after that start line to get realigned and restart the race. Once the starting launch boat has alignment, they will call the start.
Okay. Yeah, is this a normal thing that?
Certainly not.
Okay.
Certainly not. No, this is definitely something a little bit different, but
some of the rules would include, more formal races will have stricter rules, and so they might outline ahead of time if there's breakage in the first 500 meters of a race or things like that. Some of the regattas will stipulate that you can restart, but it's usually from the starting line of the race. But what you have here is just
it looks like they're
a
sitting
smaller
ready.
scale race, so we're able to be flexible on those rules of what we want to do. And again, being conscious of the time and the schedule of events for today is really what's going to help.
All right,
with
looks like we're
that.
getting ready for the restart.
There goes
All
the
right.
flag.
And there goes the
And
flag.
they're off.
And they are off.
You can see in the foreground there is a boat warming up. That's just the men's 4, and these women's 4 are off again, hopefully with better alignment.
In the yellow boat is Wichita State University, and over in the white boats on there it is Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis.
IUPUI.
That's it.
IUPUI. Looks like everyone's doing really good on this part. We had that little bump in the beginning.
In the Wichita State boat, it's the shell called the Francium, named after Francis Wynn. In the coxswain seat is Tony. Stroking the boat is Jessica. Behind her is Lizzie, then Gabby. In bow seat is Anya. Looks like they are working on getting their catch timing accurate. It's hard to see from this angle, but it does look like the boats are somewhat side to side. The rowers would know who is right next to them. They don't have a lot of open water or anything at this point.
Does look like they're pretty close.
Absolutely. It's always going to be a tough race, and it's really hard because, you know, those first 500 meters are going to be so crucial, and you want to be so focused in on what you're doing. Tilting that head to look over to see the crew next to you, I mean, that can really change the whole concept of the race. I mean, you can lose just seconds.
Is that right?
In a sport like this where it's timed and you can beat somebody by 0.1 of a second, and then, you know, that's it. So every second is so crucial to make sure that you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and you are so focused in, and can get really hard, especially when you're this close to a crew. I know I used to have a problem. I'd always want to look and see and try and get that little extra, and my coxswain would be mad.
It can affect the set of the boat as well. When a rower's looking out, they may change their oar height and what they're doing with their hands enough that it really could mess up a stroke of the other people in your boat.
It looks like they're
First
doing a power
500
10 now too.
Are
And Purdue's
done.
given a pass on Wichita State.
Looks like Wichita State was 135 there through the first 500 meters. Is that good timing?
It's not bad.
Not
I
bad?
think
It's
it's
not bad
pretty. I
timing.
think it's right about on par with this style of boat and what they're doing, and for a start. So
Oh, and there we go, seeing them pass through that first bridge. And so Indiana State actually has not had to deal with passing through bridges until this race. So it's going to be interesting to see how their coxswains handle, you know, a completely different change of a body of water.
exactly,
as well.
their home course, if you will, is a lake. So they are not used to steering under bridges or rowing under bridges, but we do have wide bridges here, unlike some other race courses, for example, in Oklahoma City. Some of those tend to be very, very, very narrow. So we're helping them out here. We've got plenty of room. This arch, as you can see, 2 boats can easily pass under the same arch. No big deal there. What's great about these shots right here is you can really see the oars and try to see if they're all going in at the same time for the boat, and that's called the catch. When the oars hit the water and get covered all the way, it's called a catch.
Oh, okay.
You really want, obviously, all 4 or all 8 oars to catch at the same time. There's a lot of different factors going into that. For example, how deep that oar is. You don't want to be scooping the water. You also want to watch for them coming out of the water at the same time, and that part is called the finish. So you have the catch and the finish going into the water. The finish is when they all come out at the same time.
And everyone's going to be moving in such, like, unison, like, sequence, you know. One person, you know, catching a little bit shorter than the last person is always going to throw the boat off a little bit. Got some new times.
Looks like
in
they
here.
just passed the 1,000 meter mark. So Wichita State passed it at 4 minutes, a little bit faster than IUPUI.
They're at the 4:02.
They are quite close right now, which is
It's going to be a
good
tight
for a
race, which
race.
is good
Yeah,
for a race. I mean,
it
it keeps
is.
it interesting, keeps it entertaining, especially, you know, so we're doing a 2,000 meter race. You know, the average race is about from a 2K to a 4K for the most part. And I always, you know, as the rower had a tendency to do a little harder on the 2K because I didn't have to row as far. But,
Right.
you know, around that 1,000 meter mark, you really got to power through because with this being, you know, a very leg driven sport.
There was a
looks
little
like somebody
crab.
caught a crab.
IUPI, one of the rowers, it looks like their blade got stuck in the water during their stroke. And but they got it worked out really quick on that one, actually. So that's in their favor. That coxswain's probably very grateful that that crab got resolved and they're back to stroking together.
Tell us what a crab is real quick.
So that a crab is it's really just, you know, maybe that rower, the blade, maybe they didn't have their blade squared vertical when they dug it into the water. Maybe it was at a slant or something.
Okay.
And it's going to catch the water at a horrible angle, and, you know, everyone else is at full speed, and you're trying to keep up. Well, it really takes on a life of its own, and it can slip out of your hand entirely. It can go over your head.
You can break an oar. You can get
It can-
ejected from the
It can
boat.
pound you in the chest.
Oh.
Like, there's just so many ranges of
Of
how bad a
crab,
crab could be.
yes.
So this one,
Okay.
it caught the water funky, but she
She had
popped
a
it
really
out
great
really
recovery
quick,
with it, you know.
really quick.
Yeah.
But you can see already. Look at that distance.
Yep.
It's a
It just-
detriment no
yeah.
matter what.
True.
So.
Always.
These are unofficial times, but we saw at the 1,000-meter mark Wichita State leading, and definitely you can visually see it now.
And they're definitely
Again, it
pulling
could be
away.
that crab. It could just be that, you know, you're getting winded. You've already rode for over 1,000 meters. This is the middle chunk of that race, and so
It's just kind of your coasting time. You want to make sure that you've got a really good rate and that everyone's, you know, relaxing. You don't want to power through too soon and, you know, use up all that gas. We want to make sure that we have a really strong, nice finish.
yes.
Right.
So
Got some spectators on the bridge. I always loved that as a rower and a coxswain,
Yeah,
just
they're
to
cheering
get
them on.
to wave and have that love from above, and you just know people are cheering for you and rooting for you. Now, by now, the rowers can see the spectators too, because
Yeah.
they were facing backwards. So
Gives
it's
you the
always
little
nice.
extra oomph.
it
It's-
does.
Right.
It really
nice.
does.
it
It
is
shows you that
nice.
you're that close and you can do it. You got to
Yeah.
just go a little bit further.
Right.
Oh,
So
and there
we've
they
got
are.
boats in our sight now. Wichita State definitely has, I would say, a boat length of open water
Absolutely.
on the other four.
You see Purdue, they're trying to close that gap. They're doing everything they can. Looks like they're pressuring through right now, trying to do a power piece.
They're going to be on that sprint portion of the race plan right now. This is the sprint. The rate has gone up. They're on their last few strokes. A good coxswain is counting out the final strokes accurately to get them to that finish line.
It's always my favorite part as a rower, that finish. Just hearing the coxswain say, okay, you know, we've got 5, 4,
Yes.
3, and you're just giving it everything that you can at those last
Right.
few moments, you
I
know.
heard that buzzer just now. Wichita
That's
State officially passing first with that buzzer, and IUPI, there's their buzzer as well.
Yeah,
Unofficial times showing up on the screen here.
IUPUI at 7:42, Wichita State 7:33. So in the women's 4+B, Wichita State gets the win here in the first race of the day.
That's quite exciting.
It's
Yeah.
such an exciting.
You can see them rowing through. You never stop right away. They are going to row through the First Street Bridge till they have some open water. They can pause. They can turn around. They'll redock once they're ready with their cruise. But just giving their muscles some slow down time here and catching their breath. And they'll get to swap out and row by pairs usually and take a drink of water, things like that. So
Mhm.
good recovery for their win.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely, especially with that odd start. I'm sure even for Wichita State, it affects what they're thinking about the race because they've got to stop, go back,
For sure.
start it over again, right?
Right, and especially
Exactly.
if you've got such a good start to go, you know, in that very beginning, those first 3 strokes are going to be so huge to really set the tone for that race, you know. And so if they had a phenomenal start, which it looked like they did in that beginning, you know, a great power piece, and then to try and redo that again, make sure that everyone's going to be on time and no one's going to catch a crab and things along
Starts are
those
their
lines.
yeah, they're definitely their own beast of how your stroke is. It's not a full stroke. It's a very specific sequence, and so for them to have to exert that and get that out and think you're on a race, and then have to stop mentally, and then also redo the physicality of what a start means and what you need from it. So that was pretty awesome that they held and they kept power up for that whole time. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good start this morning for Wichita State here at the Plains Regional Regatta. That race right there, the women's 4, brought to you by BG Products, proud supporter of Wichita State rowing and of the community that they both came from. So we are underway with one race done, ladies, and let's talk about the next race that's going to be coming up.
Right, so it looks like we've got the men's 4. We're going to have 2 Wichita State boats going in that one, and then we've got Purdue as well.
it'll be Wichita State on the 2 outside lanes, and then it will be the IUPUI taking down the middle lane. This will be interesting to have the 3 boats going across. So there's plenty of water for it, but as long as we've got good steering, then we won't have any stressful hold your breath moments. So That will be
Absolutely,
good.
especially navigating these bridges.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
You've got to, their lanes are marked, so they'll know which lane they are supposed to take under those bridges for safety, which is always the first part of rowing, is safety first, for sure. So, yeah, like you just have to stop if something does happen, which is unfortunate. So, should be good. We've got them warming up here, getting up to the start line. They'll have to turn around right before the Lincoln Street Bridge. They get a point there.
some nice clean strokes on that warm up right there.
Nice and calm.
Well, and I think that this group too, and this four, has actually rowed together beforehand. They rowed together last year for the most part, at least some of these guys together. So,
Which is saying a lot, because I know there are 23 first-year athletes this year and quite a few less of the other categories. So your second-year athletes, there's 4, and third-year athletes, 3, 1 4-year athlete and 1 5th-year athlete. So definitely a lot of new talent, and so this is a great home regatta, like racing event for them to get their feet wet, no pun intended, but to get them going and used to this rowing together and in a race environment would be good.
absolutely.
Let's talk maybe about the benefit of being together for a long time as opposed to 23 first-year rowers.
Oh, man.
Right.
You know, like Ellen
Just the
said,
whole, yeah.
Ellen was talking about the guys warming up. You said they've been together, so obviously that's going to make a lot of difference in how they row, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you get to know the people in the boat with you and know, how that boat's going to move, because majority of people have played team sports before, but this is the ultimate team sport. You know what I mean? Everyone's got to work together and just sync up 100%, or you're just going to have bad juju in the boat.
And don't forget with rowing, I mean, it's not just about catching together, finishing together, listening to cocktails. You're on a literal boat, and so if it's tilting to one side or the other, it's going to affect your other partner's stroke or whoever's doing what, and it's going to affect the steering. So the more set a boat has, the more level it is, the more successful it's going to be. So if you are familiar with your teammates and you've had more water time with them, more practice time, more everything time, your set is only just better and better and better. And that's why when I was on the team and we had your 4-year rowers and those boats, the varsity boats, I mean, just all the more hours in that boat and you're set and understanding what your contribution is and how, if you could get into another boat, how you do help the set or hurt it and what you need to do to tweak it. So
Yeah, and every seat's got a job, I mean, we've got the stroke. So looks over here. I think Thane is actually going to be stroking one of these. Is that correct?
we have, Thane is going to be the stroke seat in the Fort Oarsman boat. Yeah.
And so he's really going to help set that tone, because he's going to lead the way and follow the coxswain and what they're going to say, and set that rate for everybody. Make sure that all of his strokes are going to be really lengthened out. If he starts to rush whatsoever, then he's going to rush the rest of the boat. And then,
So the stroke seat definitely, keeps that cadence, that timing of how long a stroke is between the catch and the finish. That would be your rate. And just keeping that steady in a race and not getting too excited, not getting overworked and burnt out before the end of the race. So everyone does have to follow stroke seat, and that would be, I would say, the first person in the boat, but it's hard to say depending on where you're pointing at. So the part of the boat that's crossing the finish line, that's the bow of the boat. And so today what you're going to see, the stroke seat would be all the way at the opposite, the stern of the boat.
Okay.
That first rower at the stern is your stroke seat. So all the rowers are sitting behind that person,
I've
Okay.
heard.
following that.
We're at the Plains Regional Regatta today here in downtown Wichita on the Little Arkansas River. Thank you for watching our stream today. We've already had the women's 4 race. We're getting ready for the men's 4A race coming up here. And this one is sponsored by Wichita State, BG Products rather. Proud supporter of Wichita State rowing. The other black and yellow home team is what they like to say about BG Products. So let's go to Aaliyah Funchel. She's at the start line. Aaliyah, what's happening there right now?
So we are getting turned around and lined up. IUPUI just got down here. The 2 Wichita State boats have been down here for quite a while and got to practice their starts. But we're just trying to get lined up. 3 boats is a lot, especially with the current right now. They're wanting to be pulled towards the shore. but we're slowly getting alignment and getting ready to go.
Aaliyah, would you say, on that start from that last race, was it the current and what was pulling that IUPI boat
I feel like
over?
it was.
Okay.
A little bit of the current and also not a super strong start, and that's crucial in the
Yes.
first few strokes. So I think it was a
Sure.
mixture of both.
Okay. Nice.
Looks like we're getting ready for the start here.
Yep.
And again, 3 boats in this one as opposed to 2 in the first race today.
In lane 1, we have a Wichita State men's 4, coxed by Will Taylor. And stroke seat is Thane. Next behind him is Nick, then Andre and Peyton in the bow seat. Lane 2 is Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, coxed by Jake Whitaker. And in lane 3, the second Wichita State men's 4 boat. This one is coxed by Hayden. It's the BG Products 4 in the BG Products race as their sponsor. So we have Hayden, then Drew and Ronald, and AJ is the bow seat. They are getting alignment with 3 boats. You can see the rowers kind of tweaking based on their coxswain's call. It may not be all 4 rowers. It could just be 1 rower, 2 rowers. A specific stroke is needed to get that point for alignment. When they do their start sequence, the coxswain ideally is not on the rudder at all. They should have that most perfect point. The start is excellent and swift and strong, and so ideally you don't even need a rudder at that point in time.
And just for our visuals, so we've got IUPUI right there. They're going to be in that yellow boat, but like we had talked about earlier, using other people's equipment, not having to travel
Exactly.
with it.
And they're off.
They are
Here we
off.
go.
There they go, yes.
So here we go. You can just see how that start, the different bursts coming from different crews. Look at the
And
strength
Wichita
of the
State is
BG
pulling
Products boat.
away. Wow, look at that start. That is an amazing start.
So it looks like their legs are just really powering through on that start. Look at that open water, and what a benefit to those rowers is they can now see the water that they're making a difference in and see the other crews in front of them at this point versus the other boats, the other 2. They can't see where the competition is at this
Right.
point. So it's all the better for lane 3. They can just keep shoving away and pushing against and adding more water space between those other crews if they can maintain this for that whole race course.
Oh yeah, you got 2,000 meters. You got to keep that open water for that
exactly.
entire time and make sure that you don't get too burnt
Not
out
too
right there in the
winded.
middle.
Exactly. So it's, and yep, look at them. That you can see some of the buoys there, making sure they stay on course. A safety launch is following them, as is common for races. We've got 2 launches out on the water today.
Now, in the first race we saw this morning, the IUPUI boat had the coxswain at the other end, and I noticed in this race, for all 3 of these boats, they're in a different position. Let's talk about that.
You're so sharp.
Why, thank you, Lisa.
You're just, you're impressive, but you're absolutely right. What we saw in the first race would be a bow loader for the coxswain seat, and as I mentioned, that first part of the boat that crosses the finish line first, that part of the boat is the bow. So a bow loader, that coxswain is laying down. They're the first part of the boat looking out. These ones, the coxswain is sitting. Oh, no, both of these. So the coxswain is sitting in the bow loader of these as well, but you could have 4s and 8s where the coxswain is sitting on the stern of the boat. They're sitting more upright in those boats versus these. We only see a little head. We only see the head. Their legs are literally down in there, kind of like a canoe, but just extreme. They're fully in there, and I would always challenge my bow seat. See how he's leaning back with those strokes, that I would challenge them. You better feel the back of my crown of my head. Like, I need your lean back so strong and so good that you're doing that. Again, the other boats, the coxswain can be sitting on the opposite side, which is the stroke seat, the stern of the boat, and they're sitting upright, more like the rowers. We'll probably see lots of examples of that coming up. So
Absolutely, and as a stroke seat, you really want to listen in these bow loaders to hear exactly what your coxswain is saying, because versus those bigger boats where you're, facing your coxswain one-on-one and you get to see them and hear everything that they're saying. Here you have to listen and make sure that you can hear everything that they're doing, because they're at the back of you. You have no idea. You're at the very front. It's a completely different animal than whenever you get in those bigger boats and you're, looking at them. So
That's what I was wondering, because they're in the opposite space. So it's got to be just different for the rowers.
absolutely, yeah.
We're going to put up a replay and look at the coxswain here. The lower left is the replay, and the live race is up there in the right. And you can see what Lisa was talking about, how far back they're going back and hitting the coxswain's head, right?
Yeah,
that's what you want to do.
Total ab workout. Like, can you imagine doing that on top of your legs working, your arms working, and setting the boat? Now you've got to do an ab workout every stroke. And your coxswain is making you lean back even farther just so that you can tap the crown of her head. But it really is a nice challenge. It's something for them to think about, too, because that centerpiece of the race can be monotonous. It can be, just repetitive. And so you've got to find ways as a coxswain to motivate and keep their focus in the boat, keep them renewed in what they're fighting for. And just looking at this open water here, it's the other two, lane 1 and 2, are just now going through the bridge and approaching the bridge. And that second men's 4 is really making clear water here.
Yeah, that's a big lead there in lane 3 for the Wichita State team. What are the Wichita State teams? Getting
to look at their catches, their blade curling timing is a lot better than maybe some of the other techniques of these newer rowers. Again, there's 23 first-year athletes, and so there's still a lot of practice to get in. And for a sport that you can only practice on water, you really need those good weather days to be able to practice. Practicing on land, you're going to use an ergometer, and you're really training the muscles, and you're getting stronger. But it's definitely not the same as being on the water and in a boat and holding the equipment and using the oar. So definitely looking like these men have rowed some time together.
And we're just passing that 1,000-meter mark here. Wichita State definitely ahead with that lead in that 3:45 at that 1,000-meter versus the 4:29 of the other Wichita State boat. And like you were talking about with those first years, completely different. And unfortunately, with everything that's gone on this year, we haven't had too much water time to really get to practice something like that. Because like she was talking, it's a completely different animal. I mean, trying to stay centered and keep that core strength while also using your legs and not tiring out too much and making sure that that boat is completely level. Looks like Wichita State's actually going to be coming up here shortly and seeing the commentators and everyone starting to cheer. Looks like we can almost see them too.
They're going to be in front of us here in just a second.
Fans, humans and dogs alike, over at the boathouse entrance. Cowbells are ringing, cheering them on. The rowers can hear this.
They're really moving.
But it might be a little faint for them where they're at, but they do hear the cheering.
The other boats are going to be approaching here shortly as well. Wichita State approaching the finish line.
Such strong finish.
Yes.
It's amazing. Really, they don't look tired at all, which is a good trait for them right here. Again, they're rowing through that bridge for their cool down after the race, but
here comes the other Wichita State boat.
That coxswain, you can see her laying down, but she's making all those calls. Actually, I think this one is Will in this boat, and then you've got IUPUI in the white tank tops here. Coming in next. These are unofficial times that we're clocking, but pretty good speed
really
still.
Pulling away there at the end. They kept pretty close water to Wichita State, that second boat throughout the majority of this race, and really gave a good power push at that end.
Exactly.
That open water between the other two, we hadn't seen that in the beginning of this race.
That's anything goes in 2,000 meters.
IUPUI close to the finish line here. They will unofficially finish second in this race. And the other Wichita State team is getting close as well here to the finish line.
Still powering through. A lot of splashing with the water. It just looks like they might be a little tired, but they are still powering through. They know that they're on their sprint sequence part of the race. And they're finishing strong here.
There's our unofficial times there on the screen. Wichita State, boat 1, 6:23. IUPUI at 7:32, and the third Wichita State boat there at 8:05 unofficially.
I mean, just with those times too, you can see the difference. I mean, a bunch of first-year athletes really trying to understand, because rowing is a completely different sport than anything else you've ever done. I came as a transfer student to Wichita State too into rowing from playing softball. I went and did that collegiately as well, and it's a completely different animal than any other sport that you're ever going to do. I mean, it's so equipment oriented, and really getting to do something like this on water in general. It's a whole nother feeling. You get sea legs when you get off sometimes if you row too hard.
Yeah, right. I've heard that in rowing, nothing during practice anyway, nothing good ever happens on land. So you want to be in the water. Is that a true saying, ladies?
I think in the coach's mind for sure, but no, I see the point, because it's so much more value from being on the water. And so any day when the weather might be too rough or the wind too strong and you don't get water time, it is always a bummer, because that's where your best training is going to be.
Right. And for the past year we've had a pandemic, and that has affected not just Wichita State rowing, but all the rowing teams and college sports in general. So maybe let's talk about how hard it is to get back out there on the water and actually compete.
I know that they've had a lot less water time than they're used to. They've had a lot less competition time, and from when I was on the team, it's just so valuable. And to miss out on a year of actual racing and seeing other crews from other parts of the country and just feeling and feeding off of that, having that experience, it's a bit sad to think that they've missed out on that. So that's why today is so exciting that they actually get water time, get racing time. I think the ACRAs, which governs the rowing in the U.S., I think they are changing all the rules to help make any novices that were novice last year to still get novice eligibility, because so many people were not able to race, and it paused the world for a while. And so it's definitely a different ball game for sure.
Absolutely.
Look at Coach Cup. He's out there monitoring on the receiving dock. We've got boats coming in from that men's 4 race. They're handing off their oars to some helpers. They're going to be lifting this boat out of the water.
Now I know that. Yeah, let's talk about what's going on right here.
So usually you've got all 4 of your rowers still. They're going to help get it out. But right now they've got a lighter weight boat than these wooden boats that'll come in later. They were able to do it with this. The coxswain made the call. The one wearing the fanny pack is who makes the right call, so everyone's doing at the same time what they need to be doing. They squat real low. They reach over into the water, holding their center of balance, and then they've got to curl and squat right back up and lift those legs
over your head and
get
hold
that
it there.
Heavy boat out of the water. And you just finished a race, and
you're tired.
It's a bit exhausting.
Legs, oh, absolutely.
The boat is wet. You're sweating. You can't slip. We've also got a double that's launching right there. This one is a double because they're sculling. They're going to have blades, or they're sculling. They've got oars in both hands for that race.
What's sculling?
Sculling is when you have
it's just a different type of rowing.
2 blades in your hand versus sweep rowing, which is 1 oar, we've been watching. Each rower has 1 oar.
Okay.
So they're sweeping.
Got it.
And that's usually performed in the bigger boats. So like your 4s and your 8s they're always going to be sweep. I mean,
There's
they have a
pair.
quad.
You can do a pair with 2 people. 2 people each having 1 oar.
Okay.
The set has to be.
It has to be perfect.
pristine.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite races, actually. When I rowed, me and another girl, we actually got first in a women's pair on a super, super, super windy day. I mean, and when she's talking about that set, I mean, when you're sculling, you've got 2 oars, so you've got 2 different areas leaning out on the water to help you get that balance and to set that boat. And when you're sweep rowing and you've got 1. So mine has to be perfect, and hers has to be perfect. Right. Otherwise, we're off, and we have to be pulling, at the same strength and make sure those strokes are just going to be so seamless. Because if I'm off a half of a second and I'm leaning one way,
you'll feel it. They flip all the time.
They're flipping.
If you get to practice that day and find out you're in a pair or a double and it's your first time, take everything out of your pockets. Just know that you might be going in that day. I've caught that on camera a few times.
Is that
and
right?
It's entertaining for the people on land, but the rowers know it's in fun. But it's harder to set when you have a smaller boat
Right.
and you have less people contributing. You don't have a coxswain to help also just have a centered balance. So
Exactly. So we're going to see with these guys too. They're going to be steering their own boat, so they're not going to have a coxswain.
Okay.
steering
so
based on pressure. Some of the boats might have with their feet that they could steer, but it's usually just purely pressure and
making
keeping
sure you're
it
having that communication with the
even on
person in
both
front of you.
sides.
All right. Very interesting analysis there. About the pair. I think that would be.
Yeah.
It would be very hard to team up and come up with the right balance with your teammate. But well, right now we're going to talk to a Wichita State rower, and that is Mckenzie Lane. Hi there, Mckenzie.
I'm Jessica.
Jessica. Oops. Okay. We had the wrong schedule, Jessica. I apologize.
No fault of yours.
No. Well, tell us about your time here at Wichita State. You are a freshman, so what has that freshman year been like for you?
It's been interesting. It's a little different than when I originally toured WSU.
I bet.
All these masks and restrictions. It's been good, but it's been something I need to adjust, and it's been going well, I guess.
Right, your first year rowing here. How have you enjoyed it so far?
I love it. It's my favorite. I think it's my favorite sport, especially
Aw.
since I've never heard of it before.
You're
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Great.
What made you want to join or walk on and try out the team?
I got a letter in the mail
Yeah.
that talked about, you want to join rowing team, and I decided to give it a shot. I sat in on a small meeting and talked about all the policies and stuff. And after getting on the water a little bit and learning how to row, I just decided this is my sport.
I love it. That's exactly when I joined too, was the postcard and the pamphlet in the mail, and I was like, there's a rowing team. This
Yeah.
is crazy, and is this real life? And it does
Right.
give you a chance to be a student athlete in college because it is a walk-on sport at Wichita State, and then you find, your team environment, your family, you get to travel in normal times and
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
compete. So it's really awesome.
And you've got the new boathouse. I mean, us older rowers, for the most part, like Lisa never had this facility. I mean, how is
so
this
shiny.
facility, first time doing this sport and you're getting to do it out of such an amazing building. What's that been like?
It's pretty nice.
yeah.
I've seen the old rowing area, and I'm kind of happy that we have this new building.
Absolutely.
So, Jessica, what race are you in today?
I just got out of the quad race, and my next
Nice.
one is in the 8.
Well, that's exciting. Are you any changes or that you're going to make from one race to another? I mean, how are you feeling about this 8?
The 8 is my favorite boat to row in, honestly. And
Nice.
since I'm in the middle, I get to just follow people in front of me instead of setting the pace.
Yeah, exactly. You were the stroke seat in that 4 event earlier,
Yeah.
I noticed. So
I've never
You
been
get to-
stroke seat in the quad before, so it was interesting.
you had not.
That is amazing. Wow, congratulations. That was an awesome
Yeah,
job.
great
Yes.
job. Very
Right.
great.
It can always be so stressful trying to do something that you haven't done beforehand,
Yeah.
especially stroking. You're setting that pace. You got to make sure that everyone else is following you and that you don't burn out too quick,
Mhm.
too. So
Yeah.
that can always be super stressful. Yeah, Coach Cup really likes to do that. He puts people in different situations that they are like, what?
It gets you going, though.
Yeah.
It
It
does.
Makes you grow as a rower, right?
It does the trick.
Yeah.
He knows his ways.
All right,
So,
Jessica. Well, congratulations. We look forward to seeing you row a little bit more today. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.
Good luck, Jessica.
Thank you.
All right, good start here today for Wichita State rowing. Most coaches will tell you they're never pleased. Do you think Coach Cup is pleased after the first 2 races today?
I think he is. I don't know if he'll say it yet.
I don't think he'll say it.
He's definitely. You saw him on the launch dock earlier. He's definitely still running things, throughout the day, and so a lot's going on. But
I got to say, he's pretty happy
I think
with it for the
so.
most part. I mean, where this program has gone and how far he has taken this program to
Right.
really get to see, the fruits of his labor with this event today is it's so spectacular.
yeah. So when I started on the team, we mentioned we were down on the little river, no, down lower on the bigger river, and it was near BG Products. They had a building just kind of south of their normal building for where people worked, and we were able to use that for a long time. We had lockers, we had all our boats, everything was able to be stored there, and But again, we were just borrowing because the program was still trying to grow and still trying to be what Coach Cup was envisioning all these years. It's just mind-blowing to think of that he had a dream this whole time, and here I was just showing up really early in the morning to row and cox and be freezing in the dark. But he knew what he wanted, and so we were there for a while, and then we had a temporary building in the Delano roundabout area. There was a building. It's torn down now. We were able to borrow that, so that was a big move. Like, it's a equipment-based sport. We had to move nuts and bolts. We had to move, slings for boats, all the riggers. Like, there was a lot going on, very orchestrated, but he knows what he's doing. It was smooth. We got everything moved, and all the while he's still strumming up these dreams and trying to get a boathouse built. And we're like, yeah, I mean, that'd be cool, but and then, like, lo and behold, here it is, and just getting to be used, and it's so nice, and I'm just so happy for the program because they've just, this part of the River Vista apartments. We're in the lower half. You can also rent out bikes and small boats. Ellen, what other small boats are here that you can rent, like a canoe,
you
kayak,
can do
or something?
canoes, kayaks, paddleboarding. So, while he was envisioning this boathouse too, he also envisioned a place to just get more activity out on the water. Not a lot of people look at a body of water and they're like, oh, I'm going to go do something fun on that. And he was like, no, we are.
Yeah.
And here's what we're going to do.
For the community. And
so he, boats and bikes.
Yeah,
exactly. Boats and Bikes is attached to the boathouse downstairs in the River Vista apartment
open
complex.
to the public. Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody can come out.
So, yeah, you can rent. Hourly and get to just, be out here, be on the water, right here in downtown. And it's such an awesome location, too, that they were able to get this, I'm sure Lisa remembers walking down the mornings when it's all the dew's out and you're slipping in the mud,
we
trying to
were on
hold
grass
these
in the
heavy
mud.
boats.
Right.
We
And,
didn't have concrete steps.
I got these spoiled concrete
I
steps
know.
on this gorgeous dock.
This permanent
Yes.
dock. We would have to relocate the dock as needed for different races. That's a whole thing. It was a floating dock, so we've come so far. So it's so great that the kids now, like, you can enjoy it. You don't have to worry about your facility so much. You can really lean into more to the sport and enjoy it.
And it's giving opportunities to do things like this. I mean, beforehand they just this big regatta that we're doing today. I mean, what we're doing right now is just so amazing. And I'm talking him up over here as his daughter. And I'm just so proud.
You're proud.
I had so many older siblings growing up that weren't even related to me. Being around the team for so long and really getting to see how everything changed and then being able to be a part of it, even though I only did it for 1 year, was like the coolest thing ever. How many kids get to say, I collegiately played a sport with my father?
Right.
Not very many.
Not very many. And it's such an awesome opportunity to be able to see all of that happen and then still get to have these relationships. Lisa's seen me grow up from being, little itty bitty to here
Weird.
I am
Yeah.
now.
Right.
Now she somehow is a grown up. I don't know who let that happen.
Right, we need to talk to him. I've got issues with this.
Yeah, the Shark Rowing Vista Boathouse, as we talked about down here at the River Vista apartment buildings at 150 North McLean in downtown Wichita. Actually a joint venture. I know Coach Cup worked really hard to get these partnerships with City of Wichita, the River Vista developers, and, of course, with Wichita State. They've got 7,000 square feet of shell storage, and I think that's just going to be invaluable for a team, right?
Absolutely.
To have that much.
Absolutely.
Men's and women's locker rooms. They've got the different spaces for their programs, the boathouse, the clubhouse, Delano Park as well. And I know that Calvin's vision is going to continue to get bigger, right? He's talking about doing some other things on the river, right, Ellen?
Yes, he's really trying to get so much out here. So what they're hoping to do, and the next few years, is actually create like a river trolley system to where you'll be able to go and travel on the river downtown, down to the brand new baseball stadium that
Nice.
Wichita has been blessed with, and just kind of come here too, also to the boats and bikes, and be able to rent those equipments, go paddle boarding and things along those lines. And so be able to travel everybody down the river to
That would be
see
so cool.
all of that stuff is just such a cool thing. And who would have thought about that?
I
But
Right.
he did.
know.
He
River
Yeah,
thought
he
about
did.
it.
trolley.
Yeah.
I think that's great, and like for the small perk as well as just alleviating parking. For example, if there was the baseball game or something to go to, but maybe you want to park over here and just take a little stroll and have a little nice time on the river. before and after the game, or wherever else you want to go on
See
the river.
fireworks.
Yeah,
Yes.
like just super cool like
No.
that would be great.
Well, of course, there are many people that are making the regatta today happen here at the Plains Regional Regatta. That's brought to you by Wichita State. One of the sponsors is Captain John's Boat Bright. Bright Group offers a superior line of boat and yacht cleaning products, including Boat Bright and Yacht Shine boat cleaners, boat polish and boat stain removers. Their products are eco-friendly and are guaranteed to work better than any other boat cleaners you've ever used. So again, thanks to our friends there at Captain John's Boat Bright for being a sponsor today of the Plains Regional Regatta. We're getting ready for the next race, which will be coming up here in just a little bit at, any time now, actually. Let's go down to Aaliyah. Aaliyah, what do you have there at the start line for us? Aaliyah is, she's busy right now. Is what she's gathering information is what she's doing, right?
I'm sure, yeah, we've got these men's doubles coming up. So this is really going to be interesting, especially like we were talking about earlier. You've got all these first-year athletes sitting in here in these doubles that haven't gotten a lot of water time, really making sure that boat's going to be set. And, without having a coxswain, they're going to have to go through this whole start sequence, too. And
Exactly.
you're already kind of midway through a stroke when you're sitting up there ready to go in your start.
Yeah.
And it's not a comfortable position to sit in. It hurts the bum,
Really?
especially
Yeah.
on those little teeny tiny seats that they give you.
Yeah. So that white shell that we're looking at right now is the Bill Van Sickle. The namesake of that boat is actually here today, one of the spectators. He happens to be a member of the WRA, the Wichita Rowing Association. That would be if any adults in the community are interested in rowing, just like these college students are. There is the Wichita Rowing Association, and they will teach you how to row. You can join the club and row anytime you want. I did get the chance. I was a volunteer coxswain for them as well, and did get to cox at the Nationals race for them at one point as well.
And we should mention that several of the boats have people's names on them, right? Former Wichita State rowers or just
Yes.
rowing enthusiasts that are sponsors.
And it's basically sponsoring a boat to name it whatever you want. So I mentioned the Francium. That one is from Francis Wynn, who I rowed with. And the 4 oarsmen, again, that was 4 rowers from my time that they wanted to pitch in together and
get
name a boat, which, and those 4 men, they always rowed together. It was just, they were one of my favorites to cox. And
Right.
like we talked about, just a well-developed team or who had been rowing together for a while. Like, it was such a good 4, and they always, played off each other. They had ergs at their homes, like, if they wanted to work out, and just great guys. So,
All right, we're going to talk about a sponsor here making the Plains Regional Regatta possible today. Thanks to Boats and Bikes, an equipment and venue rental company. Their aim is to bring outdoor health and fitness activities to the downtown river corridor for locals and visitors to enjoy as well. They provide hourly rentals, season passes, group discounts, and special events to help make every day an active one here at Boats and Bikes at River Vista, which we just talked about a little while ago. And we're coming up on the warmer months, and it's going to be a popular spot down here, especially since last year we were all basically inside during a pandemic. Now I know people are just anxious to get out and have fun.
Go do.
and Riverfest is going to have some water events as well, I think. So it'll be a good time to get out,
Yeah,
see what's going on.
absolutely. Let's check in again with Aaliyah Funshell at the start line. Aaliyah, what's happening there?
Hello. So IUPUI just got down here, and the 2 Wichita State boats have been down here for some time. Boat number 3 has perfect alignment, it seems, and then the other Wichita State boat just turned around, and now IUPUI needs to turn around and get alignment.
All right, we're about ready to set off here for the men's doubles.
And getting that alignment in these doubles, too, is going to be so hard because, like we had talked about earlier, you don't have a coxswain. So, the bow of the boat, that's going to be the person who's going to be not only, they're going to be rowing, but they're also going to be steering and calling the shots for the most part, saying, okay, hey, I need a little bit of port pressure, I need a little bit of starboard pressure, trying to get that lined up because you don't have somebody in the back seeing where you're going. So, especially navigating these bridges, too, trying to make sure that you time that just right to look over your shoulder at the very end of that stroke to see exactly where you're going and know what pressure you need on what side and things along those lines, and just having that communication. So that boat 3 is already lined up and ready to go is just so impressive because it can take a minute when you don't have somebody there guiding you.
All right, I was going to ask you who out of the two communicates, and you answer that question.
Yeah, well, and usually, yeah, it's the bow, but, you talk to the person you're going to be rowing with, too, and say, hey, what do you feel more comfortable doing, and here's what I feel comfortable doing. Let's kind of do both here. But, yeah, that bow person's, they're going to steer and, for the most part, call the shots and make sure that they have a pretty good race.
All right, getting ready to start the doubles here shortly.
And the flow of the river is about the same as it was this morning. We've got 429 cubic feet per second, so you can just see that flow. The wind is not, making it any white caps or making for painful water out there for anybody. Just a nice flow. And again, it's with the race course, so the rowers appreciate that instead of having to row against the current.
I can imagine you'd be pretty happy to see that, right?
Exactly.
It's going with you. And
any race day that happens
is going to be a good day.
You are thanking your lucky stars.
This men's doubles race brought to you by River Vista, Wichita's premier luxury apartment homes along the Arkansas River. The greatest value for the upscale lifestyle. Give them a call at 262-2350 to reserve your new home today.
Attention.
Oh, and as we can see here, they're getting ready for that start. So like we had talked
And
about
they're
earlier,
off.
and they are off. That was an awesome start there.
Lanes 1 and 3 are Wichita State boats. We've got Edgar and Eli in lane 1, and then we have Andre and Nick in lane 3. Middle is Indiana University, Purdue, University of Indianapolis.
And so in some of those boats, we've got actual like third-year athletes for the most part in the majority of these boats right here. It looks to be
exactly. So that is who you want to be in the smaller boats, the more experienced people who can set a boat a little bit better. So
it looks like that Wichita State double there right now.
The launch is flagging, and that means they're trying to notate for a certain boat to merge and get back into their lane. It looks like they might be drifting, so the launch is there again for safety, and the rowers can always see the launch. They are the ones, that white flag is to signal to move back over in their lane.
Okay.
If this was a coxed boat, and the coxswain obviously can't see because they're facing the race course, the bow seat or the stroke seat is who is supposed to give a little word of advice to that coxswain and tell them, hey, we're being flagged, or the safety launch is yelling at us to do such and such. So that's who would communicate to the coxswain. They're getting pretty close, overlapping here, it looks like from our angle, but I think it's still safe. They're just getting a little close when there's room to move over.
Yeah, let's take a look at that start again and see if we can determine what happened here with the alignment there.
So it's a bit of a staggered start. That's why from our angle, it doesn't look like an exact line, but it's perfect with how the finish line is also at a stagger as well. So everyone's getting the same distance of their race course. They're sitting ready for that call from that safety launch to start the race. They're going to do a start sequence. It can be anywhere from 3 to 5 strokes that are unique to that boat and what they've determined they want to do. So here would be 1, 2,
and 3. That last full stroke, really getting
4.
in there.
There they go. They're increasing, and 5, and then typically they might do a strong 20 strokes, maybe even strong just 15 right after those powerful, unique 5-stroke or starting sequence there.
Right, yeah, because, in that starting sequence, those first 2 strokes that you're getting, they're not going to be a full stroke. You're
Exactly.
sitting at that ready position.
They're basically going to look choppy to someone else who's just wondering, is this rowing? Why is this just little baby strokes? What's happening? But it's all part of getting up to speed from a stopping position. How do you build speed from just being stopped? So.
Yeah, and especially with it being such a leg-driven sport, and a lot of people that aren't very familiar with rowing really think that it's a lot of upper body, which is not the case. It's the core and the legs that give you all of that power. Your arms are going to be a pivotal point because
they're leveraging the oar, and they are definitely controlling that. But so to that point of it being a leg sport, what people might not be familiar with is we're looking at some of the boats launching. The rowers only have socks on and no shoes. You might be wondering what's going on there. There are rowing specific shoes that are anchored into the boat for each seat. You lace into and strap into those shoes, and they're on a footboard, and that's what you're pushing against when you take these strokes, using your hands as levers with the oar, but definitely all that drive and power in the legs and the thighs to really jump off that board.
Right, and like we had talked about, it's such a,
Well, I never would have thought about the whole leg thing because I was like, oh, yeah, I was the person you guys were talking about. Oh, the arms got to be tired. But I mean, it makes sense when you see them moving the seats and then using their legs and powering through that way.
And you can adjust. I mean, so you can see them. There's some Velcro assistance, to get in and out of them quickly. So, for example, in the worst case scenario, if a boat were to capsize or something, the Velcro is what, you're not going to be stuck in your shoes. You can get out. The shoes can be replaced for your size. We used to not be able to have that in the program, but we've come a long way. We're able to get, the right size shoes for everybody, and it really, really helps. So you're pushing in the right size.
It's such an equipment-based sport too. Double checking all that equipment right before you jump off. That was the word I was looking for earlier that has escaped my brain was equipment. Because like she had talked about, you're pressuring off of that footboard in the boat. So any of that those screws get loose or anything along those lines, your feet slip out of the shoes. That can really be detrimental, especially in the middle of a race, because you're not going to be able to get that same amount of pressure and push off of faulty equipment that you didn't triple and double check.
So it looks like they've just passed the 1,000-meter mark recently. We've still got one of the Wichita State boats far in the lead, making a lot of clear water out there. Looks like that is the Bill Van Sickle boat. We've got the IUPUI and the second Wichita State double further down in the river.
Passing under that bridge, it's really going to be interesting to see how IUPUI does with these bridges, in these smaller boats, like we had talked about, not having a coxswain trying to, turn around and see where they're going, and really, especially since we've had those lane issues already in this race, those 2 white flags that have been thrown by those launches.
Exactly. Steering in the smaller boats is just all the more heightened effort, and so if you're not used to bridges, those small boats, again, they're just having to put in a lot more focus there, and it might affect their stroke and the full speed that they're trying to get for the race. Look how straight this course has been for the Bill Van Sickle boat. It's
it's so
they've
amazing.
been really clean on their strokes. Look at their catches and their finishes. Just really smooth rowing from them, and just as a double doing that.
Oh, and we see Wichita State here pulling away from IUPUI right here at the very end.
Got a boat
to
length
power.
of open water here for Wichita State, but let's see if they can maintain this on this last sprint of this
anything
race.
Anything can change.
We can hear the
IUPUI
fans
having
cheering
some
them on.
really good strokes there right now at the very end sync.
Watching that, it looks like Wichita State will be that second boat. Crosses the finish line. There's the signal for them, and IUPUI getting their buzzer just now, and then heading through that bridge to slow down and cool off.
Cool off there. All right, so Wichita State here in the men's doubles. They finished first and second. IUPI unofficially there in third place. Here on the Arkansas River this morning, there's our unofficial times here. And in lane 3, that Wichita State boat at 5:54. I believe that was the Van Sickle boat, if I'm not mistaken there.
Yes.
And then with the other Wichita State team at 5:28, and then IUPUI finishing at 5:50.
And like we had talked about too, Bill here being able to actually see, these guys race in his boat and see them win this race. And that's just going to be so amazing as a spectator who's been a part of the program for so long and helped out in so many ways, just kind of getting to see that.
That's him on that launch. I didn't realize he was on one of the follow launch with the flag of all things. To watch it. That's pretty
how
awesome.
amazing is that?
Pretty cool. Yep.
There's Bill right there.
He's not steering. He's the second guy in that boat.
How long has he been a supporter of Wichita State rowing?
Yeah, so he would be a Wichita Rowing Association member, him and his wife, so they've, far longer than my experience too. So definitely been around, and I do love it when, we come back, we volunteer, because we're all just, fans and family of rowing, and you just, once you're hooked, and I've seen plenty of my alumni from my time, and then Wichita State, or Wichita Rowing Association members too, not just like family members and everything. So it's just really nice. Everybody still comes out and supports, even if you don't know someone on the team, the squad, and so you just want to come out and share the love.
And also getting to see it grow too. I mean, you were talking about you get to see some of your old teammates come in, and I mean, can we only imagine how they must be feeling to see this setup right now?
Exactly.
And just think about all those mornings that they got there and we're trudging through the mud.
Right. All right. We're going to take a replay here of the finish of the men's doubles right there and see Wichita State going to the
This
finish
would
lines.
be
There
the
we go,
last,
right
the
there.
Douglas Street Bridge, that last bridge of the course. There's three bridges throughout the whole race course, and then there is a bridge right after the finish, making that the fourth one right here. They come right through that, just very clean. And then I think what they definitely use their advantage is the shoreline. That helps you keep alignment a lot better. And, you know, if you can use that to your advantage, definitely do. The other boats were, you know, on the more, I guess not a straight line of the river, if you will, and they had a lot more open water, be it in the middle. So
Right, and it can be hard, you know, like you had just said, being in the middle, because, you know, as a person who did bow in, you know, doubles, being able to be close to that shoreline really helps give you a point, especially if you haven't mastered looking over your shoulder yet, because you can use that as a vantage point to see how close you are and where you're at and try to keep that straight line. Especially, you know, we've got an awesome course here today where it is a straight line for the most part. You know, there's no curves and things along those lines that you're going to have to, you know, try and go over.
Okay. Yep. There's that finish there.
It's just such a clean finish,
They were rowing so great on that one.
Yeah, and these guys have rowed together before, like we had talked about. You know, they're not first years.
Exactly, and so I think we have
All right,
William
very good finish
us.
right there. And we have another athlete with us today. Is this Thane?
This is William.
William.
Nice.
You were right, Lisa.
I was right. There's
My
no prize
schedule-
for that, though, unfortunately.
We'll give you the round of applause. I don't know if that counts. William, thanks for being with us here today. You are a freshman with Wichita State Rowing. Tell us about your first season so far.
It's been really busy. You know, you start out your season, you have no idea what's happening. You get out there. What's a boat?
What
What are these oarlocks here? I have no
Right.
idea. And you start to pick it up. You see the older guys that are rowing. It's amazing to watch them row, and you want to imitate them as best you can. And you pick it up, and next thing you know, you're starting to race out, showing what you got. And it's super fun to see how fast-paced everything can get.
I've been told that a lot of rowers are engineering students, and that's the case for you. Your major is aerospace engineering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. a lot of hard-working individuals.
William, had you done any sports before you made it onto this rowing team?
Yeah, I'm what you would call an athlete.
Yeah. Okay.
In my youth, predominantly I did swimming and running events in track and field and stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
The racing environment, it's kind of the same. You know, it's like I'm at home.
That's awesome.
Right, so you never left the water, then you just went from one water sport to
From the
another.
swimming.
Yeah, except you hate it when you get wet here. You know.
Oh, but it's a water sport, you'll be fine.
In
Just
swimming,
wait till
it's
it
like- Yeah, in swimming,
rains.
it's like, I'm supposed to get wet. I'm supposed to work hard in the water. Rowing, it's like, don't splash me. Come on.
Exactly.
Is the training similar between the two?
I would say no.
Okay.
It's a lot of different muscle groups, a lot of similar ones, but yeah, a lot of different muscle groups too. I know for swimming, I predominantly did a whole bunch of upper body stuff. Triceps were a really big deal in swimming, and here it's like a full body thing. You almost have to be well-rounded in everything you do. Your legs, especially, your legs are predominant in your rowing success and stuff like that. And so, yeah, different training, I would say.
How does it feel, just as far as the team aspect of your other sports, running, your own course versus, rowing and who else is in the boat and things like that?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty similar. I mean, everyone's pumped to show out what they have. We've all been working hard during practices. That's how it was in high school. That's how it is now. I mean, we're putting in the effort each and every day. We get out there, and we're super excited to show it.
Nice.
A lot of boats out here have been doing really, really well from our team, and same with the other team. They've been working just as hard as we have, and so it's a good day for everyone, not just our team, to really show what they've got.
Right, and
Well
it looks
said.
here, William, that you're in a 4 and you're going to be in an 8. So how do you feel about those upcoming races?
I feel really confident. I know our 4 is the same 4 we're going to be taking to Dad Vales in Philadelphia. So we're super pumped to get more race practice and stuff like that. The 8, we have a whole bunch of newer guys, and I know they're just as excited as I am to get out there and put everything they have out there on the water.
Well,
What do you-
wish you luck for those, for sure.
What do you think about this facility, William?
The facility's perfect. Again, I wouldn't know from like past experience, how they had the trailer and You know, I wasn't there. I have no idea how that was like. But being in here and hearing stories from some of the older guys, it's really comforting to know that we have a really nice facility and have the opportunity to use it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being with us today, William. We look forward to seeing you on the water here in a little bit, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, we want to thank another sponsor here of the Plains Regional Regatta. That's Allen's Upholstery. At Allen's Upholstery, they have the help of several companies that give the best service to you that they can. Feel free to contact them if you need any help with foam cushion replacements, full recovery of office and residential furniture, furniture repair, getting fabrics and vinyl, recovering weight room items, and recovering church pews as well. Again, that's at Allen's Upholstery, one of the many sponsors making today's regatta possible here on the Little Arkansas River in downtown Wichita. And we're getting set for the next race, ladies, and that's going to be the women's 4, another women's 4. We had one earlier. Tell us maybe how this one is going to be different.
From that first women's 4 race, I don't expect too much difference. Again, it will matter if we've got some more experienced rowers in this boat, but the team is so deep with novices that it's hard to know. I think this is a novice boat as well with who's in it, and so
I do believe
probably
that it is
seeing
a
the same
novice
amount
boat.
of speeds and just splitting up the races because the river is only so wide and you don't want to have too many in the same race. So
Right.
could be a lot of the same. And you know, I was thinking when Will was speaking just now about, he mentioned trailering and the products, and it reminded me that there was another non-boathouse time where we were shuffling boats from a big storage unit is where we had to keep things, and then we would trailer every day. We would trailer the boats that we needed, and then we had one like a permanent like semi-permanent storage, like a metal.
There was like a storage unit right there by the little river
that we could keep in a parking lot. We could keep some stuff there, but then we would trailer every day, and so you'd be taking boats off of a trailer to row and putting it back on. So that would be like, that was right before I think the boathouse happened. So
yeah, super, super early mornings, you know. Remember growing up and just seeing all this stuff, and it just was so amazing to get to see everyone, you know, lift these ginormous things over their head as a child. And I'm like, what is that? And they're like, I've been here since 5 o'clock in the morning and I want to take a nap. You know?
Right, yeah.
But just that perseverance to be able to do all of that kind of stuff, you know, and trailer that every single day, you know, that amount of character that builds within the sport. And like you had talked about, you know, you see all these former rowers coming up and being able to just
still
support all of this.
We've got IUPUI. They're ready at the start line. If you can see, this is a wooden based rowing shell. Some of the others are more composite, like the all black ones. Composite material. This one's one of those heavy.
It's going to be a heavy boat to move for sure.
This coxswain is sitting straight up there in the stern of the boat. So, you know, an advantage if he looks a little taller. Some advantage that a coxswain could make is to lean forward and decrease that wind resistance as they're going, because the bow loader, only their head would be showing. They're really not creating any wind resistance. Their weight is distributed in the bow of the boat. Well, in this seat, he's just having to sit straight up and steer, and then of course you have to steer when there's 3 people sitting in front of you and you've got to see what you're doing. But it's just the way that some boats are designed, and how boat design has come a long way, and there's different versions and there's different materials that they're being built out of. And
oh yeah, it's not going to be fun to lift that out of the water after a race for sure, especially being made out of solid wood. You know, it's so much heavier and you don't understand it until you're in there. You know, but it is still such a good boat to row, and you know, Wichita State does such a good job taking care of all of their equipment. You know, some of this stuff is still the original equipment from the old days.
Wow.
That they're still using today, you know.
Coach Cup can fix anything.
He can fix anything.
Let's head to the start line with Aaliyah and get an update right there. Aaliyah, what's going on?
Yeah, hi. I just like the comment that Coach Cup can fix anything.
See?
Because it is
Throughout
true.
all the years,
We've seen
it's
some,
never not true.
Yeah, we've seen some crazy things happen to the boats. But
Yes.
anyways, IUPUI has alignment and is just ready to go. And then Wichita State is currently turning around, so hopefully they will be ready here in a second.
All right, getting ready to set here, ready to go here with the women's 4, again in the wooden boat. So maybe let's talk about, you referred to the wooden mud being as quite as fast maybe as the composites?
The composite's usually faster. It's going to weigh a lot less.
And it's just 'cause
and
the
it's
weight of
more
the boat,
ergonomically
yeah.
designed. Like, you know, they were developed by former rowers that, you know, again, engineers, hello. So
Right, and so many
they've
engineers do
created,
rowing, too.
They've created, you know, the new style. It's like, if you want to go to call it the Cadillacs of rowing shells, so you're going to pay for it too. So do you want to pay for that or keep using these reconstructed, the wooden shells that do still work and they get you down the course? So
Oh, absolutely.
it
And they build
depends.
character too. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You get so
You can't
used
just
to the
get the nice
composites.
thing.
Yes, you can't just immediately get those composites. You know, you gotta work through, and you really appreciate those nicer, lighter boats at that point in time. You know, as a rower, you know, you can feel the difference in those boats and how they move on the water. You know.
And this boat right here is, this race rather, is sponsored by Campus Recreation at Wichita State, providing a welcoming environment for everyone with facilities and programs that inspire the university community to engage in recreation and wellness opportunities. Again, the sponsor here of the women's fours. We're getting ready to get kicked off here.
We've got lane 1 with Wichita State. That would be the black shell, and it is, like we were talking, a composite based. It's
Attention.
the brand is Resolute.
And see everyone sitting there ready.
Looks like boat number 2 just has to fix their point.
Yeah, and we see, because Lisa was talking about earlier, you know, they have their hand up, the coxswains do when they're not ready, and we've got the white flag from the launch. Looks like all the hands are down now.
We have
Oh, we've got
Madison
one
to
up.
Cox here. She's in the bow loader. That's why we only see her head in the black lane 1 Wichita State boat. Madison to Cox.
IUPUI, they're looking like they're trying to get their alignment back in.
Bow seat for Madison's boat would be Mckenzie. Then we have Reagan, Alexis, and Sierra.
Nope, they're all
As
sitting
stroke
at
seat,
attention.
you can see they're sitting at attention. Backs are straight, but here they're getting a little bit of a point. They're going backwards. They were advancing too far because of the
Attention.
flow of the river. Sitting ready.
And they're off.
And that start.
Watching those puddles as they power through on those first strokes, going from 0 to full speed.
Wichita State pulling away there after they start to really get those strokes in. Like we had talked about that starting sequence, you know, those such smaller strokes to really get going from just a standstill. You know, pulling away and just kind of creating that open water is really going to be such a big thing for them.
Definitely. They've got really good flow with these ladies right here. Just watching them lean back together, their catch timing, their finish timing, those blades coming out of the water. Pretty darn similar timing here.
Looks like a boat you would want to Cox, huh?
I might, you know, I might. I'm shopping around, so
Right.
why not?
We're going to show the start there on the bottom left once again for you to see how the race got underway. Is there an advantage or disadvantage to having the coxswain either on the front of the boat sitting up or in the back?
I would, I mean, a good coxswain, it wouldn't matter, but I would say probably a bow loader just for that wind resistance aspect. And again, the newer models that are being built, the lighter ones, typically aren't building a stern loaded coxswain seat. And so again, just the ergonomics of it and the making sure you're moving through that water smoothly. So we can see those W's shining up on those blades coming out together. Again, in the white tank tops is IUPUI, but they are using shocker blades.
Which is very, very common, even at those big levels, you know, using
Sure.
other teams' equipment, and it just being good equipment to use, too, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to transport all the equipment, so some races we definitely do. Wichita State travels quite a few places, so Oklahoma City and Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, Tennessee, we tend to travel with it. But for example, going through, maybe if you're going to a farther race, you might be, you know, willing to just travel your rowers and your team and borrow equipment. They've passed the 500-meter mark of this race.
So we're getting into that 1,000-meter mark. I mean, so as a coxswain, what are you thinking for these ladies at this point? I mean, what are you telling them to keep pushing through that middle part?
Yeah, so right now what's awesome is Wichita State is pushing away from that other team, and it looks like pretty effortlessly. And so that's kind of your built-in motivator. Like I was saying, the rowers can now see that other boat. And so if you're already doing so well, I like to challenge them even more and say, I know you have open water, but I need 2 boat lengths now, actually. Like, I'm not finishing this race with just 1 boat length of open water.
Right.
Please, like, we're going for more. So different things like that, or if you sense that your boat might be getting winded, maybe they got too amped because they can see that they're passing that other boat and they're so excited. So you can call different focus 10s or focus 20s for things like breathing or the rate or just enjoying the day. You might just pick something a little distracting, but just to get it off the stressful side of things. If you can tell that's where the boat's going, or if they're rushing their stroke seat, you really want to just calm them back
really
down.
Finding that rhythm right there in the middle of it, staying so focused in and making sure that you're still applying even pressure throughout the entire race.
Exactly. So you can race pace for women is generally around 32, and that's after the start sequence. After your high start, you'll mellow into about a 32
And so
rate.
when you say race pace, you're talking about that's as many strokes as they take per minute.
Yes. So 32 is pretty fast. The men's boats can go up to even 40 usually, like on the sprint maybe. They're going to take it up if they can. But you really want to keep the same power no matter what your rate is. For example, if a coxswain wants to decrease that rate down to 30 or 28, which they might, you have to maintain this pressure, and the coxswain can see that. She's got a speed coach is what it's called. It is connected and wired into that boat. And the coxswain can get these readings like we're seeing right now, the splits, which would be the pressure and the time it's taking them to go 500 meters only. And so if the rate goes down and the split also goes down, that's a no-no, and the coxswain's going to call them out for it and make sure that they can definitely still keep that rate and the speed.
Yeah, I know as a rower, it's always so hard to just make sure when you lower that rate down that I'm still giving it my all and really, really pushing, because it's so much easier when you're running through it all. Be like, okay, I've got a rhythm, we've got to go, and then trying to bring it back down and really stay consistent through those 2,000 meters. Especially thinking about when they do 4,000 meters, you're going to a whole chunk.
There's a lot to think about and a lot of ways to motivate, or power 10 just for legs, just because we have legs.
Just because we have legs.
Focus on your leg pressure and, giving out different calls to draw attention to that, and that they can really hone in on what their legs are doing per stroke, per that 10 strokes, and what's going on with their bodies.
When there's so many moving components in every single stroke that you take, so taking that time to really focus in. For 10 strokes, you're going to focus in on your catch. 10 strokes, you're going to focus in on your legs. 10 strokes, you're going to focus on that drive, really help pinpoint. And you may have a stroke seat that struggles with a certain thing, and you're like, hey, we're going to focus on this for 10 strokes, and it's really going to make a difference, And like with that open water that they've got there, I mean, I almost guarantee they've done probably at least a couple of those.
Exactly. So you can see the oar work from the IUPUI squad, and just the blades kind of moving at different angles or coming out of the water differently. That is definitely a factor in their speed, and can slow a boat down by not being set. But again, a lot of these teams are full of novice or first-time rowers, as we call them, as novices. So there's just a lot of water time they still have to get in, and it just all comes with practice and love of the sport keeps you coming back. And
it's such a fun thing to do. It's something so different than anything else you're ever going to do in life.
Absolutely. And in Kansas and Wichita no less, I just love being a part of it and being part of the program.
Right. You can hear the spectators getting excited here as we're getting the boats in view. Wichita State boat here is getting ready to pass us, heading towards the finish line.
Look at that smooth race course right here with these ladies.
And they just picked that pressure up too. You can see a total shift in that.
The coxswain has got her hand up. I think she's trying to brace herself from moving too much and adding too much movement. Ladies are got some good lean back, flowing together, coming to that finish line. Pretty good timing too.
Absolutely.
Just
There's
over
IUPUI
7 minutes
right
for this.
here.
Coming in unofficially first place. Comes lane 2.
IUPUI really having a strong finish here, putting that last little bit of gas that they've got just at the very end, you know. And like we had talked about earlier, it's all about time and rowing, you know. That 0.1 of a second can really make the biggest difference in everything.
Exactly. And there's their time. They'll row through that bridge.
All right, there we have the completion there of the women's 4. Wichita State getting the win here in this race unofficially. Another good run there for the Shockers today, the regatta.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Go Shocks.
Go Shocks. There's our time right there.
A 7-minute, 11-second for this race course for the ladies. It's not bad at all.
No.
Especially for, you know, I think it's a lot of first years too.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know, being able to keep those times low, that's your main goal as a rower. You want to make sure that your split time is so good that you take down your 2K time, even if you just knock a second off of it. Like, a second in a race like this is such a big deal. It's such a big time frame. And usually throughout the day, you're like, oh, it's just, you know, it's another minute.
Right.
No. It is a minute. Like,
Yeah.
it is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It
to
is.
be able to knock, I mean, just the smallest amount of time off of there.
Yeah. We're going to take another look here of the finish of the Shocker boat going through the Douglas Street Bridge here.
Checking the roster here, it's three of the rowers in the coxswain are all novices, and one member is a second year. So
Okay.
this is them coming through that final bridge. They're picking up their sprint about now. They've got 250 meters left to go. And they are making it look easy with all that open water.
Oh, but you know, they're thinking right now, oh my gosh, we're so close. Their hands are
Yes,
hurting. I mean,
blisters.
those blisters that you get,
Don't forget, you
blisters
get
on
blisters.
blisters on blisters. You know, I never thought that my hands could get so torn up.
So
but
raw.
And you don't even realize it until the very end of it,
Right.
too.
Oh, yeah.
I never would have thought of that.
And that's just a strong finish. I mean, those strokes are really, really nice at that end there.
It is, and we see the flow now. I mean, some days you are going to have perfect water, but if you're going to have flow today's flow is really nice, and it's calm. So, and it's going with the race course, so you can't really ask for much more. It's really nice.
All right, another win there for Wichita State. Good morning so far. And I believe we're going to talk to another Wichita State athlete this morning, another rower. And who is with us today?
All right, I'm assuming this is me. Howdy, my name is Thane Reed, and that's me.
Hey, Thane, thanks
Hi,
for being with
Thane.
us. Tell us about being on Wichita State rowing. You're a senior, so you've got a little bit of experience.
I do, just a hair. Sticking around like a bad habit, I guess.
Right.
Well, it's a good time, you know. Things have changed a lot over the past 4 years. When I started, we were down the river a ways in a parking lot, or storage facility, I suppose. Since then, we got this fancy, nice new boathouse. Wonderful. You know, COVID set us back a little bit, but that's the world right now.
Right, absolutely.
Can
And
you-
we're coming back strong.
Yeah, can you tell us a little more about last year and you know, as races were being canceled and what that ended up looking like as the season as a whole?
Yeah, well, the first half of the year was pretty normal. Not gonna lie. Coming into February, we started hearing a couple whispers about, COVID, and the next thing you know, nothing, not a thing. And it was a little demoralizing. Not gonna lie, but you know, it is what it is. It's not as though we were alone and having to worry about it.
Right.
So you're getting to race today, and you raced earlier in that 4 we're seeing. And how was that for you today?
Well, I thought that our 4 was pretty good. You know, I'm gonna give it to you straight. It wasn't my best race.
Okay.
But you know, we got room to improve. We're headed off to Pennsylvania next week, and I think we can put a little polish on that bad boy before we hit it.
As a 4th year, had you been to the Dadvilles before? I think this is their first time going back in a while.
Yeah, not even once in my life.
Okay. I'm very excited for you.
Super exciting for you, Thane. That's amazing.
It's going to be the greatest for you. So
Thane, you're an English Lit and anthropology major, right?
That is correct.
What made you interested in that?
Oh, I suppose it's a bit of family going back. My mother is an English teacher and a librarian, so
okay.
you know, a long time I've had a an interest and an affinity, perhaps, for English just growing up. And the anthropology I learned as I went along was really neat. And how the two syncretized together, I suppose. Literature is a product of culture, and the two mesh, and it's just neat stuff. I can talk about this for a while, but I won't.
Okay. And it looks like you were a swimmer before you started rowing, right?
I sure was. That's actually part of how I got interested in rowing. I came to Wichita State. I thought, well, did they have a swim team? And no, I could not find one. And I thought, well, rowing's a water sport, right?
Right.
Well, yes, but no. So.
You don't want to be in the water while rowing as opposed to swimming. That's the difference,
plan.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what's one of your favorite things about being on the team? I know that you guys do a lot of spring training and things along those lines. What's one of your favorite things that has happened that you've been able to experience through rowing?
Oh, man, I think it's just the travel and the connections you make while doing so. And it's really the pain and the struggle of rowing really bonds you with your teammates together. So
Exactly.
So it's good. I mean, it's good.
So will you graduate this year, or?
That is the plan.
Okay.
A couple weeks from now.
Nice.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. That's so awesome. Being able to graduate, especially going through that pandemic and, sticking to a sport and sticking to school and getting through it with all of the, complications that this year has given everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. Congratulations, Thane. Thanks for being with us, and great job today.
Thank you.
All right. Nice little pose there from Thane as he's leaving. Thane Reed, our guest, another shocker rower. And something that I think that I've seen that all these rowers have in common is they're just so excited to be out here and be a part of this program.
Absolutely. And again, the weather today and using your boathouse and getting a
Right.
race for once.
Yes.
And after a hiatus of itching to get out, and you just couldn't ask for more. So I'm sure they're excited.
Absolutely. I mean, the location too. You're right downtown, center of Wichita. Like so close to everything, and just being able to be out here at this specific location and be able to do this. It's so. Who would have thought?
Right.
And something Thane was mentioning, so with rowing versus other sports, it's an all-year sport. Swimming or baseball or basketball, you have a few months. No, we start when school starts and we go till May. And so what the difference is in the fall is your longer pieces races. So they're 4,000 meters or 6,000 meters. They're going to be a lot longer.
Don't talk about 6Ks.
And then in the spring, what we have now is these short ones. They're 2,000 meters, some are less. You're generally right next to your competitor on these bigger bodies of water. And it creates that excitement of just being next to each other. And it's a shorter piece. So mentally, you could get through this and make it through. So it's a lot more exciting in the spring, and the weather is better, and it's just everything. And so for them to go to the dad rails,
I don't think anybody
those
likes
long
a good
distance
6K.
ones. I mean, it's a mental and physical challenge, but that's rowing. It's everything. It's
Right.
you get a little bit of everything.
That's what makes it exciting, right?
Exactly.
And we are here today at the Plains Regional Regatta, downtown Wichita on the Little Arkansas River. Of course, brought to you by Wichita State University, and they are here competing today against IUPUI, Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis today as well competing, and we're getting ready for our next race here in just a little bit. That is going to be the men's 4. And, of course, we want to thank our sponsors. One of those, Captain John's Boat Bright. Bright Group offers a superior line of boat and yacht cleaning products, including Boat Bright and Yacht Shine boat cleaners, boat polish, and boat stain removers. Their products are eco-friendly and are guaranteed to work better than any other boat cleaners you've ever used. So thanks again to Captain John's Boat Bright for being a sponsor here today. It looks like we're getting a little more sunshine. We had some clouds for the last race, and sun's poking through here, ladies.
Trying.
Yep.
It's trying. I don't really mind that overcast. I mean, I know as an athlete, I really
Yes.
enjoyed when it was just like this. A little bit of a breeze, pretty cool. Because even though you're out there on that water, I mean, you are sweating, you're hot, you're working hard, and to not have to have that sun beating down on you really makes a huge difference.
I can imagine. Right. Well, let's check in with our official start gate person, Leah Funshell. I'm messing this up completely, ladies. Aaliyah Funkshell is at the start line. Aaliyah, what's
We've
happening?
missed you, Aaliyah.
Yes.
We've forgotten.
Yeah, so it looks like IUPUI is just trying to get
In their
in
lane.
line with everyone else. The Wichita State boats have been doing a pretty good job at holding on to their point because they've been down here for a while. So, yeah, but we're just about ready to get started, and the official is giving some instruction now, so we're almost ready.
Yep, you can
And we're gonna
definitely
have 3
see
boats
them.
in this race again too.
Yeah, they're angling in. You can see them trying. And lanes 1 and 3, Wichita State boats, they have had to maintain a point even with this flow.
There's our current weather conditions as we get ready for this race here. The men's 4, 66 degrees, 15 miles per hour winds. Mostly cloudy here, which you ladies say you love when you're rowing.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Lane 1 is Wichita State, as I mentioned, and the coxswain is Tony. And stroke C is William, who we were able to interview earlier today. Behind him is Alex, Joe, and Blake in bow seat. Lane 3, the other Wichita State boat, is coxed by Will Taylor, with Edgar at stroke seat, then Grant, Andrew, and Eli in bow.
All right, this race brought to you by BG Products, celebrating 50 years of leading innovation in the automotive aftermarket and the transportation segment, and is proud to support Shocker Rowing as it leads the regatta today. Thank you to BG Products for sponsoring here. Getting set for the men's 4B.
Now you can see how much time it does take in rowing to get a good point, and so you want to be cognizant and aware, and a good coxswain gets more practice and is able to get a point a lot sooner. So this coxswain came in at an angle, and now they've got to go backwards, and kind of parallel parking is what it looks like they're doing. Is they're jockeying a lot, and the other boats, whoever might be in this race, would definitely have to keep their point if they got there early, if they've been waiting. You know, and everyone had already warmed up. Well, now they're sitting still. That's kind of not to anyone's advantage, is that we've just been waiting to start the race. So
And it just builds up that amp, you know, this
yeah,
right before the race, you know.
they're waiting for it to start, waiting for alignment, but you've already done your warm up. So that's again where the start sequence comes in, is you got to build that speed from nothingness. And here they are tweaking any alignment, sitting ready. Wichita State in lane 1, you can see they need to back up just a smidge.
That was always the most anxious part for me for a race, was just getting there, setting up, getting that alignment,
Is
because
that
then
right?
you're sitting ready at your catch, and you're like, okay,
You're waiting.
okay, and then
But-
you have to move just
But then
a
the
little
coxswain
bit.
might make you move. Yeah, so right now you can see in lane 1, the coxswain has their hand up, and they're also making small adjustments to get right back where they were while they were waiting on the other boats. This is common. This is what happens at the start. If you can imagine bigger rivers, bigger races, you've got maybe 7 boats
Wow.
trying. And some of the 2,000 meter races, there actually might be stake boat launches where the stern of the boat, you'll actually have to back into a floating dock.
And they'll
Each
actually
lane
have
will have a
somebody
floating
holding
dock, and someone will
the
be
boat.
holding your boat,
Okay.
leaning over a dock in the middle of the water, and they're
Huh.
holding your boat, and that really helps alignment too. But
Right.
then you have to watch it as a coxswain to get your point and also not push away from that person holding your boat by the power you created to get your point. So that would be at bigger races, and
Right.
they may see that at the dad bills. It's hard to know if they're going to have a floating start like this, or
Yeah, I know that they
stake
had that in
boats.
Georgia when I raced in the women's varsity 4, you know, as a first year, which was
Yeah.
so awesome to be able to do.
Attention,
for sure. Here we go. Got alignment.
and they're off.
Here we go.
Here we
Big
go.
Powerful
Getting
strokes.
those powerful strokes in right at the beginning. Oh my gosh, you see Wichita State starting to pull
There they
away
go.
right there, just
Yeah.
getting that open body of water.
Looks like
again.
IUPUI, they're going quite at a slower rate, so it makes you wonder what their strategy was with their start strokes, if they had one. It looked a lot calmer if you compared the adrenaline of the other boats and what they were bringing. And as you can see, the difference of how much they were able to clear from going from 0 to speed and just really getting a burst. IUPUI, I'm not sure if they're steering straight either from
It
this
kind of looks
angle.
like they're not, doesn't it? From
So
this angle.
we can see if the launch has a flag up. Potentially they might be needing them to move over for safety. The coxswain just making them row extra meters by not keeping a straight course, but You never know. Maybe the wind
Somebody just caught a crab there on IUPUI.
hear
But it's
them.
good recovery from that.
really quick. Really quick. But yeah, they did kind of merge lanes, and so there's no safety issue as long as Wichita State keeps that lead. There's nothing to need to stop the race for by any means.
Okay.
They can stay there, but that launch is definitely going to be making sure they don't keep merging closer to shore. That coxswain kind of is leaning sometimes. They're moving, and that tells you that they're not letting the rowers, power the distance and the direction is the word I'm looking for, the direction that you need, and the steering with the rudder. So
we're going to take a look at that start once again.
Once they get that alignment, you'll be able to see at the start those first few strokes, comparing it, the two shocker boats. Again, they're on the outside lanes, and the middle boat is IUPUI. Going to see the different rates that they're pushing right at the start.
It's just such pressure from Wichita State. It really makes you wonder what their plan was.
Sure.
in that
What was
beginning.
their start sequence? Now,
Yeah.
every boat is different, and also just men's and women's boats. You're going to have a different start sequence and what works for you guys. And
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they could come in at that 1,000-meter mark and really show out and just, blow everybody out of the water, no pun intended.
Sure. Exactly. So here they are flowing nice and easy.
Such a strong start there for Wichita State, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they really got after it.
Absolutely. That's what you want from a start. So that was a really great example of getting it out successfully and getting that water. It just sets the tone. It's much easier on the rowers if you can see the competition. So
Oh, absolutely. Getting that open water, too, is just such a big sigh of relief, especially if you've been amped up for this race for so
Yeah.
long, too. And then, you are able to get that lead and stay ahead of there. And it just is almost more motivating to keep it and to just keep increasing it, like you had been talking about earlier. I know
Yes.
we've got a boat length, but I want 2 boat lengths. I want 3 boat lengths.
and that's what it'll come
Yeah.
down to, I think, with these two Wichita State boats. They just passed the 500-meter mark, and it may just be a race against each other and having those bragging rights when you get off the water.
Right. But that's okay, though. You want teammates that are going to be pushing you to be better, and like we were talking about earlier, you're the coach,
In the
your own
boat.
coach when you're out there in that boat.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They can give you all the tools, but ultimately it's going to be you and your competitiveness. And that's something super awesome with rowing. And, you've got all these super smart engineers out here
Yep.
doing all of this.
Yep. Rowing takes all kinds, and like we just heard from Thane, and just being a lit and English lit and anthropology major, and we've had all sorts when I was on the team as well. But yeah, a lot of engineers, I don't know what it is. It just
They like it,
works in their mind. I think
Yeah.
it's because you can see how each, your arm is a lever for the oar, and you can,
Right.
it just makes sense what it's all doing, and the distance in the water and the catch timing, and the numbers that the coxswain can read off. Again, I was saying with the speed coach, and if they're listing off the rate and the speed that you're going per 500 meters, I think just engineer mind is soaking it all
wired for
up.
that,
It's just ready.
absolutely.
A
So
lot of numbers, a lot of
Yeah.
science goes into it. Yeah,
Yes.
I could see that.
yeah, definitely. So we've seen 4s, and we'll see 8s later today, and we've seen
We've seen some
boats
doubles.
manned by 2 people. So the stats on the Wichita State fleet that they've got here, they have 5 singles, which would be a 1-person boat. They have 6 doubles, which would be 2 people rowing. They have 7 4s, which we've seen plenty of those today. They have 2 quads, which would be, in contrast right now, the 4s, each person has 1 oar. In a quad, it would be 4 people rowing, but 2 oars each.
So that same
Okay.
rowing that we saw with
They
those
would be
men's
sculling.
doubles
Right.
is going to be that, but in a boat for 4 people.
And those are fun. Those are more,
Those are very
you don't
fun.
get them at every regatta, but they're fun to watch.
Okay.
And then Wichita State has 10 8s, which is always the elite program. 8s are always the last race of any event. You've got the women's varsity 8 and the men's varsity 8. It's always the ultimate test of a program, if you will, and just to see who goes fastest, who has the strongest 8. And the 4s, obviously, you get plenty of training in those.
And those get so fast, too. I mean, you've got 8 people
Yeah.
pushing and giving their all. I mean, compared to the 4, and we've seen how those times are, 7 minutes for a women's 4. Just imagine what
It's-
that's going to be like when you double the amount of power. And,
Right.
I can totally see we had interviewed that other student beforehand, and she said the 8 is her favorite race.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
can,
fun.
It's so fun. Wichita State coming up here in the finish,
Yep.
and we're actually going to be getting them in view shortly. Really close between the two of them. I mean, this is such a great push between them, just really trying to beat the other.
Shockers
you
on
know.
Right.
shockers.
Right.
You've
There they
got the
are.
crowd
I mean,
cheering and the
They've got
boat.
overlaying boats right now. I mean,
Lane
this is going to be a
3 in the
close
lead.
call.
Lane 1 is
3.
is catching up, I think.
Oh, man, here
It's
they
a
are pulling a
race.
power piece. This
That
is
coxswain
be such a
in
cool
lane
finish.
3 is really getting animated. They are so hungry for this. You can tell that coxswain is amped and eking out every piece of pressure left in that boat.
Oh, my gosh, this
This-
is such a good finish. It's so
Wow.
close.
Yes.
Lane 3 unofficially crossing first. Lane 1 from Wichita State is the unofficial second
Not
boat
far
to
behind.
cross.
Wow.
Not at all.
We'll see. We'll get the times up here in a minute and let you know.
Definitely. So
Well, an IUPUI should be pulling up here shortly as
Yep.
well. It'd be interesting to see their finish with that. I wonder
Oh, there we go.
if something happened.
6:46.
that's great.
Lane
Yeah.
2 for Wichita State, and the winning time
See how
6:41.
close
Yeah.
it was nice and close.
Really close. Closest by far that we've had today.
And good competition and
Yeah.
pushing each other. So if those 4 from each of those are in the same 8,
Just imagine how
that'll be
fast
a
that
really
eight's gonna
good.
go.
Yeah, really fast.
You're gonna really enjoy that. So
There's IUPUI with a good, strong finish there.
looks like they're keeping a consistent rate. They don't look
Mm-hmm.
too worn out, although I'm sure they are. It's not an easy sport.
Oh,
there was a crab that
there was a
almost went
crab
over
right
his
there.
head, but he caught it. So, and I think these are just some novice rowers and getting some good race experience here on the water.
Well, like
Today.
you talked about earlier, not getting that water time. That's really where I mean, you
Exactly.
can erg and erg and erg, but until you get on that water and you've got that oar in your hands, you don't
Yes.
really know exactly how it's going to go down.
Yeah.
You know?
And so with COVID, I know it did hamper some practice times and things like that. Just being able to be near each other. I know they were wearing masks. I think they may have been still at practice. I don't know the rules, but can you imagine this exertion with masks and having to do that? And so, yeah, just having today and the water time is always beneficial.
There's our unofficial times. Lane 1, Wichita State, 6:41. Lane 2, that Wichita State boat at 6:46. And then IUPUI finishing at 7 minutes, 58 seconds. We're going to take another look here at the finish of that race so you can see how close it was between the two Wichita State boats. Neck and neck.
I mean, just imagine what's going through their head right now. You can see them out of the corner of your eye. I guarantee, because I know I used to be able to see them. And, just being that close to them, it's that personal competition between yourself and the person next to you.
I will say, too, they're coming up to the crowd, and they know their other teammates are watching, their moms are watching.
Yeah.
I would use that to my advantage as a coxswain and just say, who's over there, and they're literally watching
And
every
you guys
single
are
stroke
so close right now.
now.
You know what I mean?
They may have missed
Right.
before, but they're watching you right now, and it gets that energy up right when you need it. But
It's just that little extra oomph that everyone needs. And just hearing that, the crowd cheering, with rowing, it's such a long race, and there's so many, spots in between where there aren't any spectators that you
Sure,
can see.
exactly.
Some people are stationed out throughout the race, but that very end when you can hear them in the background, but you're so
Exactly.
focused in on what you're doing,
Yes.
it's just such an awesome feeling. And
Yes.
it really just, it's like a brand new you at the end. You're like, I'm going to
Right.
show out now.
Right.
Definitely. There it is.
Very nice. Great finish.
Yes.
It was
Right
a
here,
great
in front of the
finish.
boathouse for the Wichita State teams there in the men's 4B.
They're coming into the dock now to
And we've got
Put the
a
boats
women's
away.
8 coming up after this, and then the men's 8, I think.
exactly.
And so we're going to see just these times are going to be so different. It's going to be so amazing to see how fast these races are going to go by now.
Knowing also though that most of them have raced before today, so if they've gotten a break, hopefully. They're not too fatigued and they're refreshed, so that'll be
and then,
good.
taking all that stuff from your first race, like Thane talked about earlier, he said, to be honest with you, that wasn't my best row. And you got to really take that, your athlete is coming up and saying, I know I could have done better.
Yep.
And so he's going to take that and he's going to apply it to this men's 8 that he's going to be in. And I guarantee you every other rower is going to be doing the same thing. They all probably are thinking one-on-one, like, okay, my catch was a little bit off on this, or I need to do a better job following this person. And being able to work those kinks out to, come out and perform in that 8 is going to be so awesome to see.
That is a nice thing about rowing. So if you, for example, you were in Oklahoma City racing that day, but maybe you had 3 or 4 races that day. I mean, you're going to be tired and winded, but you have all that experience and you're picking up different things throughout the day. Like, well, the wind was really bad at lunch, so if it's still bad when we do the 8, I know what I should do here. Or I saw a coxswain, another boat do this, so we need to watch out for them, maybe, for example, or we don't need to do what they did. So with rowing, sometimes you get all those events all in one day, so instead of just one and done,
absolutely,
you just get to keep going and make the most of the whole day. You're just rowing.
Well, that's what makes a good athlete, right, is you learn from your experiences. And if you have a great race, you're still thinking, boy, if I just would have done this or made this adjustment, it could have been better. And I'm going to try this when I face that team again.
Exactly.
Being your own coach out there, being having that self-responsibility and knowing holding yourself to this standard and your teammates to that same standard is just so amazing.
Exactly. So right now, these boats that are docking, we see them getting their oars out of the riggers in the oar locks. The riggers would be the triangle metal pieces that are coming out of the boats, and then the oar lock would be the smaller part at the end of that triangle. That is where the oars are locking into for each race. That can come undone during a race. So again, equipment-based sport, you do need to make sure that is screwed in completely before you race. A lot of crews will test it right at the start line too. Just give it a good little tighten and checking that out. So they're taking their oars out right now.
And we want to thank another sponsor here of the Plains Regional Regatta, and that is Boats and Bikes at River Vista, where we are broadcasting from today, opening for their second season this Memorial Weekend. Boats and Bikes is happy to help locals and visitors explore the river with hourly and seasonal passes, whether it's a kayak, stand-up paddleboard, pedal boat, recreational rowing, shell, trike, scooter, bike, you name it. Their staff is eagerly awaiting the summer festivities. And boy, this would be a fun place to come out and have fun on the river this summer, wouldn't it?
Bring your friends,
Yes.
come and
like
enjoy
you
it.
just mentioned, the rowing show. So what we're seeing right now, you have the opportunity to do recreationally and really get to get that one-on-one and kind of get to see it. Dave, we're going to go out together.
Okay, all right. You taught me into it, Ellen.
All right, it's going to be fun, I promise. I won't let us flip.
Yeah, Wichita State, I think COVID threw this off, but every year they would do a family fun row. And so they would take 8s out, so family members and your siblings and your grandma and whoever wanted to. We'd fill an 8 with 4 experienced rowers and 4 family, whoever wanted in.
Okay.
And you could, I would cox, different coxswains would be out there, and you would get basically a really short but a quick from start to finish. Like, you would be rowing by the end of it, and everybody would be helping set the boat, and you could get in and dock. So that was always really, really fun. I think they're going to be doing that again, but again, COVID is the stall for everything right now. But with bikes and boats, you can get out too, but
and you don't have to row too. Like you said, there's paddle boards and things along those lines, which have been super fun. I actually got to experience that before COVID hit. They did a float thing on the river, like a float trip. So there were not only just us here for boats and bikes, but other people out just in floaties down the river. So it was such a cool thing to do and to see.
So right now we're seeing the women's 8 warming up, getting the start line, and we talked to Jessica earlier. Right now you can see her in that middle of the boat. She is in 4 seat, and before in her 4 race she was a stroke seat. She was that all the way to the front part of the boat. So now she's actually a powerhouse member. She's right in that middle pocket. That would be considered your powerhouse. The front stroke seat is helping set that rate and that control. The bow seat is helping a lot with the balance and a point anytime a coxswain needs it. They can call on the bow seat. So they're trying to set it up and glide. They almost had it. There's a little bit. They got it at the end. That was always my favorite, setting and gliding, and then loudly slapping the oars down to show up on every people. So
All right, we have another guest with us here today at the Plains Regional Regatta, and that is John Lee, the Director of Campus Recreation. John, thanks for being with us today.
It's my pleasure.
Let's talk about how amazing this facility is first off. Boy, what a place to see a race.
Yes, we're so blessed. Calvin and Rachel have done a wonderful job getting to this point where we can be in this wonderful facility. It took Calvin over 20 plus years to get here, and to have the first ever regatta at this new facility is a long time coming, and we're just thrilled.
Yes, beautiful. We've talked about how it used to be for the rowers here at Wichita State with Ellen and Lisa here, and this is just quite a change of having this beautiful facility. And I know that having a rowing doing so well is so important to the campus, correct?
It's important to the campus. It's important to the community. You know, Calvin has partnered with the city of Wichita, and you know, what a great way to get students to come down here and want to come to Wichita State if they see this great facility and everything underneath this River Vista apartment complex that we have to offer. So it has been just wonderful, and we're still telling our story. We're still trying to get people down here and seeing what we have to offer, and regattas like today where people come visit is wonderful.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. This is the first big event I know that we've hosted down here with this new facility. I know others are probably in the works, right?
Yeah, we 2 years ago we were trying this, and we had a massive flood in Wichita, so we couldn't do it then. And last year, of course, was the pandemic, and so that slowed us up. So this is the first time we've been able to get out here and on the big river and row. And Calvin and Rachel have got massive plans. You know, he wants this time next year to have 8 or 9 teams at this regatta.
Wow.
So it's time to start showcasing this fine facility.
And such a great location, too. I mean, could you have asked for a better spot right in the middle of downtown Wichita?
Exactly. It sells the programs. You know, we even have from Memorial Day to early October, we have a boats and bikes program where people can come down to the river and check out a kayak and a paddle boat, and so they can be part of this if they want to. They even have single sculls for those people who are used to be alumni racers or still are, and can come down here and enjoy this facility. There are people, as you know, that walk and run and have scooters along the bike paths down here, and so this is a facility that the whole city and, of course, Wichita State community can utilize.
Absolutely. We're lucky to have it here in Wichita. Well, John, thanks for being with us. It's been a good showing so far this morning for Wichita State, and we know we're going to have a couple more great races here.
Absolutely. We appreciate you being here today.
All right. Thank you, John.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's John Lee, Director of Campus Recreation. Very proud of this beautiful facility, as he should be.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, Wichita State rowing did start in 1974, but as you said, Coach Cup is just been building up the program for the last 20 or so years, trying to get it a good permanent home, and we're just pretty spoiled with what is down here with the boathouse right now. So definitely soaking up its use today. It's
Absolutely.
Really nice.
Nice pun right there, Lisa. Soaking up.
I didn't eat that one. Was woo.
Wasn't
Nicely.
even planned, but that was a good one.
Another prize I won't get to cash
Nicely
in
done.
on, but
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's so, speaking of puns and things along those lines, and how far this program has come, and like you talked about old rowers coming back, the gifts that have also been given to my dad. It was years ago, he got a blanket, and rowers put down different things that he used to say all the time on this blanket.
Quotes.
Quotes that he would say, it's raining, and be like, oh, you play a water sport, like you're gonna get wet
Right.
anyways, you'll be fine. And it means so much to him to see everyone still come back
out.
and do
I
all
keep
of
seeing
this.
them walk by.
Yeah.
Friends of mine, and
I can just imagine how happy and excited he is right now for everything that's going on. And we're going to get to talk to him later today, too, I
Yes,
think.
Yeah.
We have an
absolutely.
interview planned with him.
Yes.
And you see up here we've got the women's eighth. They just did some fist bumps there right in the middle. And like you were talking, the powerhouse, that's where I sat in the eight.
Nice.
And it was a fun place. You got one job.
Power up.
Power up.
Yeah.
What I
That was
want
it.
to mention here, the boat they're in is the Angela Lynn Johnson, who was a very, very special member of Wichita Rowing. When I joined again in 2008, she was the volunteer coach at that time, so she had just finished her eligibility. But it was some years after that that she tragically did pass away, and so this boat is fully in her honor. The ladies that were the inaugural row in this boat was definitely an emotional race, and it's always special to see her shell still out there on the water. And
a power 10 for Angie is just something
that's
completely
usually
different.
Yep, if you're in that boat, the coxswain usually will call that in the middle of the race. And
wow, what
power
a story.
10 for Angie. Yeah.
Man, fantastic.
Well, I mean, and speaking of power 10s as a coxswain, you had an experience, didn't you?
With my start, I was. We talked about bow loader 4s and what those are, and so there was a time when I was hot seated, meaning we were all on the water in different shells, and hot seating means the coach's boat comes and gets you out of a boat and comes and puts you into another boat. We're gonna jockey people around, and so it was still my first month, if you will, learning how to be a coxswain. I got put in a bow loader as a novice, and it happened to be 4 varsity strong men, tall, strong, 4th year, very capable men, and little me went in the bow seat, and it was really foreign. I'm looking around like, where do I go? What does this do? The steering is different and everything. Yeah. So I laid down, and we were practicing start sequences. So again, those bursts, those first 5, and they took the first stroke, and I sunk right down into the bow of the boat all the way down because it really is like a canoe. You just go all the way down, and I couldn't see, and every stroke I tried to push myself back up, but they took another power stroke, and the timing was horrible, and I just still couldn't get myself out, so I wasn't really steering. They didn't know what was going on because they can't see me.
Right, because it's a bow loader.
It was a whole conundrum. Finally, they stopped because it's a short one. I dig myself out, and I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry, but this happened. And fortunately, so we had life jackets we stuffed in the bottom of the boat, so that kind of helps. It doesn't add weight, and it props the coxswain, the little tiny person, the dead weight, props me up a little more, and so I could see. But it was very frightful, very scary. Total experience, memorable for sure.
Absolutely.
It was traumatizing.
We can laugh about it,
Laughing now, but I was sunk down, and you think, okay, I'll get out. No, because every time I would try, the burst from their strokes would just get you right back down. Any ground I had made was right back in there. So that was a good, memorable first year.
We're glad you survived it, Lisa, and you can be with us here today.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm so happy to be here. Again, I love this weather. The gray, moody sky is just.
Well, it's such a good day for racing too. And these guys, they've got such an awesome, season in general. They do so many things. They have their spring training, like they had mentioned. They do traveling. They go down to Natchitoches, which is actually where
in Louisiana.
Yeah, where my dad is from, and started out his coaching down there, and they still get to race against those programs down there. And like you were talking about hot seating, giving those rowers that experience and getting to do that. It's so fun and it's so unique. It's not something that you get to do in any other sport. You walk over other people in a boat and.
Yeah.
This is a man. A woman, I can't tell.
Is that the hot seat right there?
This is chilling and you're hoping your coxswain doesn't notice move.
Yes.
Because they know they're early. I think they're waiting for that other boat. And just chilling. Girls are chilling. They've already warmed up, so they, it is kind of a bummer to have to sit and wait, but it's just casual time right now. Resting and waiting.
The coxswain there has a headset. I think you told me back in the day. You had to just yell, be loud, right?
Well, I always had a mic, but they used to have cones. They literally would have cones before the microphones were existing. So, but what she's got the Nielsen Kellerman band and the mic, and so the coxswain does have a lot of equipment of her own, the mic, and the
speed coach,
the speed coach, and the cox box that plugs into the mic and everything. So, I have known and heard of those things ending up in the water, and you never want that to happen. You can see the little black balls on either side of her. That's part of her steering cables.
Oh, okay.
So those are even right now. That's good. That means she's not steering any direction. Her rudder is still, and she's chilling and sitting. And she's going to use her rowers to get a point at some point when they are getting closer to row. It looks like it might be a little chilly with that breeze coming through. When you are on the water, you're just
especially being that coxswain, those rowers, like they're moving, their body temperature's up, they're hot. I can't even imagine just sitting there sometimes when it would get really cold and
Yeah.
And you
windy
get
and wet.
splashed. You get splashed. I would be some races very drenched. Bow loaders, I would get pretty drenched. You just come out wet and cold, and
But it's totally worth it. It's such
it
a
is
fun
worth
thing
it.
to
It's
do.
just
Yeah.
every seat has its own role. So like I come out wet. You guys came out the winners. Cool. I don't care if we won.
Right.
Fine.
Well,
you
and
know,
then,
I'll take it.
The
Yeah.
best part too is that with these coxswains at the very end of the race, you get thrown in.
Yeah.
So you get
a
wet
tradition
anyways.
is the winning boat. If the rowers get their way, they will throw a coxswain into the
Oh,
winning
I see.
waters.
Okay.
Even if you're traveling and you're away and you have to go home on a bus and you're just soaked and wet and smelly.
Right.
So, but sometimes you can talk your rowers out of it and beg them, and they'll listen, and you don't get thrown in.
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's such a good race and they earned it, and they were just like killed so good. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I get
You
it.
took one for the team.
I brought a towel this time. Go ahead.
Right.
You gotta come prepared.
You
Yeah.
have to. So here they are. They're getting set.
All right, Aaliyah's down at the start line, ready to go.
Yep, they're at attention.
Sinking their blades.
This is going to be such a cool start to see. I mean, we've seen all these smaller boats today. You've got 8 people doing that same movement,
Yep.
and they're going to. That's the power that's going to be applied in these first couple strokes here with these larger boats is just going to be so awesome to see.
Sitting ready again. This is the hiatus race for these women today.
Attention and row.
And they're off. Lane 2, Wichita State. Lane 1, IUPUI.
It looks like this is going to be a pretty close race too. I mean, at least from the start here, IUPUI keeping really, really close to Wichita State, which we haven't seen a lot today. These bigger boats really give an opportunity to really show out your powerhouses and show how
sure.
hard you can go. This is their last race of the day, so everyone's going to give it
everything.
110% that
Whatever's
they have.
left. Yep.
These first 500 meters are really going to show, where this race is kind of going to lie, depending on,
Yeah.
what happens in there, and making sure that they just keep pushing.
In the Wichita State boat, we do have Madison Jocks coxing. Her stroke seat is Moetta, and then 7th seat Lizzie, then Sierra, Alexis, Jessica's behind her. Again, that was 4th seat, who we got to interview earlier. We have Mckenzie, then Reagan, and Gabby is the bow seat. Getting a chance to look at those blades and watching the yellows. Right now we've seen the W side, just seeing what comes out at the same time, if they're catching at the same time, watching that flow, the shaft of the oar, watching the heights. Here is again, that yellow, seeing if they're catch timing, the part of the sequence where the blade goes in the water. You're hoping that is all precisely at the same time.
And really getting that clearance on those blades too. We had been talking about crabs this whole time. One of the biggest things about catching a crab is, you tilt your blade at a completely different angle. Going into the water at these speeds, you've got to be really precise about how
Yeah.
it's set up and where it's coming in at, and not going in too deep. And when you're in these 8s, you can get so excited and really overwhelmed, and accidentally, you lift
Oh,
your
yeah.
hands up too much, your oar drops all the way in, and then,
Right.
And on a windier course, crabs galore. It's much harder on a windier course. They've rode
Absolutely.
in white caps, and that's just not a fun day. And there's also current speeds where it's literally deemed unsafe to row, and we don't get to race those days, and that's sad, but definitely safety first when it comes to this. We're getting to
Right.
see a good angle on the women's from Wichita State right now.
they look like they've got some pretty good oar timing, and most of these are first
Mostly
years
good.
too.
Mostly good, yeah. Just a few technique things that a coxswain might call out, but it is race pace. So usually, if the set is decent, you just keep going and you just row on through. 500 meters down right now. Looking at a really good split for Wichita State. It's 1:52 for that first 500 meters. A minute 52
Absolutely.
seconds.
What are some of the things you're seeing there, Lisa, as far as that they might work on?
So there is the sequence of rowing. So I mentioned the catches when they come in, they take that full stroke. It's underwater. You can watch if the blade is too far under the water or just right. Scooping the water is not ideal. The blade is a lever. So again, the power's in your legs. So don't make the blade go out of its way and go scooping in the water. It's going to create set issues, the balance.
And that's
And
how
it's
that
gonna
boat lays in the
cause you-
water, so you can lean one way versus
Yes.
leaning the other way, and then
If-
that's going to throw everybody
Yeah.
else off. Because, say I'm poor and my set is perfect, and I'm, my water clearance is good, and then the person in starboard next to me is dipping in.
Yeah.
So I lean, and then my oar now
Yeah.
goes in the water further.
It's very
Yeah.
connected.
Okay.
So much. And so then when we can see the yellows out of the water, there's different curl paths that they're taking. So the blade is curling. You can see it at different times. That would be something, a kink you could work out on land with various drills. But steering would be important to make sure you have a straight course and just not making them row any extra strokes.
Yeah, moving back and forth on that, it definitely takes it out of your
Takes-
rowers
takes
because
it
they
out.
know
They can
exactly.
see.
They see, they
They
feel
know it's not a straight course, and so you don't want to dampen their spirits in that way. But I haven't coxed on this water today. It's hard to know exactly what they're feeling, what they need to do. But it looks like she's trying to correct a little bit here. But the set may be off. There's just a lot of things we don't know from watching.
Right, and they just passed that 1,000-meter mark, and Wichita State's still ahead. I mean, we've got these unofficial times here of, the 3:53 for Wichita
great.
State and that 4:13 for IUPUI. Best race we've seen from IUPUI today.
Yeah. We've got all that extra power. But again, Wichita State had the composite shell, so the lighter shell, and IUPUI has the wooden 8. So there's little differences there, and it's not their home boat. They're not used to the shell.
Right. I mean,
Maybe
and
they have
just the-
composites at home, and they're thinking, oh goodness, what
that
are we
what am I
rowing
doing
in?
this? Yes.
And so, it's a very, very much a factor for them today.
Yeah.
And just the course change too, like we had talked about earlier. They're used to rowing on a completely different body of water.
Right.
That was the biggest thing whenever you would go to a different course was that, I always like we would race down it, do a test race almost, really get to feel for how that
Sure.
course is, when you row up and you're trying to get an understanding, because when you transfer it, just it's like your home court. Any other sport that you play, you go somewhere else, everything's different. It's got a different
Right.
feel to it. It bounces funny off of, this
Yeah.
floor,
Yep.
things along those lines.
You can see their puddles that they're leaving behind them. As a coxswain, sometimes, are they going to hit that buoy? She's challenging her lane. She's right up on that lane, and they could potentially, at a bigger regatta, call her for the blades going
that
over
right?
the lane. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think they're issuing time penalties here. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
and
should
usually
be
it's just
good.
a few seconds is that
But-
time
but
penalty.
they can get you if you're over the buoys.
They're approaching us here, getting closer to the finish
Oh,
line.
yeah,
There's
look
the
at the
Wichita State
excitement.
Oh
boat.
man, and this is going to be such
Here
a
they
good strong
come.
finish
They're
too, like we
moving.
had talked about earlier.
Look at that flow.
And that boat is just moving.
Good. They're using that flow to their advantage for sure.
Absolutely.
Getting some good final strokes in again. Coming into the sprint, that coxswain's calling the final few strokes and getting ready to cross it.
There we have it. It looks like it's going to be
That
around
buzz-
6:34.
Great finish for
That's
Wichita
a great
State.
finish.
Is
I
it?
mean, that's a pretty good time too. For the majority of this being novice women
Exactly,
in an 8.
yeah.
Under 7 minutes.
The excitement for those ladies, I'm really happy for them.
It's
IUPUI
finished so
getting
strong.
closer.
There they go in the wooden 8, Wichita State shell and oars, but they are powering through some good strokes. The girls are giving it their all right here.
Absolutely. And it gives you such a good opportunity to really use different equipment too, like we had talked about, lots of different teams use other people's equipment. So who knows, they could go to another race and they, may be borrowing another wooden shell or something. At least they've already had that experience now in
Right.
it.
For sure.
True.
And so it's not going to be a shock or something completely new that they're like, oh, how am I going to have to do this?
All right, there's our times.
Unofficial times.
So we got that 6:39 for Wichita State and that 7:18 for IUPUI, and pretty good.
And like you said, Ellen, that's probably the best showing we've seen today from IUPUI, right?
Absolutely, I would definitely say that.
All right,
It'll be really interesting
are-
to see how their men do.
yeah.
That
Other
men's 8.
The men's 8.
We've got coming up would be Wichita State has 2 boats in the varsity, the men's 8 race, and IUPUI has 1 boat entered in this next race coming up. It will be ultimate and final race of the day. It's
So
Like the
exciting! Can't believe
hiatus.
this day is coming to a close.
yeah.
All right, we have a special guest here with us, and that is the rowing coach here at Wichita State, Calvin Cupp. Hello, Coach Cupp.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hey.
I think you're having a pretty good morning so far, it looks like.
You know, it's a great morning. It's the first real race that we have had in, 14 months. So we're just couldn't be happier and so excited that IUPUI was able to come over and make the trip and help us have this race this spring for our student athletes. And we just worked really hard to try to make this the best experience that they could have. They made a huge sacrifice to stick with us during this time, and COVID's been tough on, everyone, but especially the athletes who trained with no racing and not even sure at the beginning of the semester what was going to happen. So we're just very proud and happy that we're able to put something on that reflects the effort that they put in every day at practice.
Yeah, and let's talk about a bit about the past year. What changes have you seen during the pandemic? Obviously, you couldn't race, so what has that been like?
No, it's been tough, but it was also an opportunity. We were able to step back and reflect on how we do some things, and we put a lot more into small boats, which we needed to for social distancing, and worked a lot more on skill. But now every one of our kids can row in the sculling boats, like you saw earlier, the two-person, the men were out. We also have one person, of course, the women are out in those also. So that skill set, I think, down the road is going to benefit them, but really gave us a chance to get to know the athletes a little differently and focus on, just having a quality experience out on the water and not just be race-driven every day at practice.
Let's talk about this great new facility you have here at the Boathouse at River Vista, the partnership with the city, the River Vista developers, and of course Wichita State. Let's talk about how great this is.
Oh, it's just tremendous. We couldn't be happier, and we're just very blessed. I mean, so many people worked on this project. We worked on it for almost 10 years, and the city, the mayors, the city council, Parks and Rec, the developers, everyone, the university, Delinda Royce, who was with the university, was our developmental coordinator, and she was just so critical, Delinda was, in making contacts, helping us build relationships, and helping us share our vision for what we really believed could happen downtown and how we wanted to be a part of not just having Shocker rowing down here, but activate the river, bring something to the community and enrich, all the citizens of Wichita, whether it's pedal boating, whether it's events, whether it's, onshore or in the water. We want to be involved in that if it's downtown on the river or close to it.
Right, and this has been such a great event this morning, your first big regatta here at this facility, right?
Oh, yeah, and just so many people to thank. I won't even mention anyone, because if I do, I'll forget someone. But, there are 40-something people here helping run this thing today, and we just couldn't do it without all of their help.
All right, Coach Cupp, thanks so much, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Well, thank you.
All right, we're getting ready for the next race. Another 8, right, guys?
Yes,
Exactly.
we've got the men's 8 coming up now. So this is going to be even quicker than the women's were. Especially since we saw how fast that men's 4 was with all of those, experienced rowers, those 3rd and 4th year rowers. Really excited to see how they perform in this 8. How fast is that time going to be? How are they going to, what's all going to happen? It's going to be super exciting to see. And if they can, have that competition like they had in that 4 and really, be neck and neck with each other, that's going to be super, super cool to see.
Yep, it's going to be a pretty fast race from what you ladies are telling me.
Yes.
They go by pretty fast, especially when you're in them.
Right. Well, we're having a great time here on the Little Arkansas River during the Plains Regional Regatta, hosted by Wichita State at the new boathouse here at River Vista. Down here at 150 North McLean, we're getting close to getting to the last race here, the men's 8. We're also getting closer to some warmer weather this year, where you can come down and enjoy all that you can enjoy here at the boathouse. You got the pedal boats, you've got the scooters, you've got the
kayaks,
bikes,
the canoes.
Yeah.
Rowing shells.
Yeah, those recreational rowing shells. That's such a cool thing that they're gonna offer out. Especially since this is one of the older sports that have been around in
Right.
such a long time. You
For
see
Right.
it
sure.
and the Olympics, and you're like, oh, wow, that could be rowing.
Yeah.
Like I never even
Yeah.
thought about it. And then you can come out and try it and do it. And there's so many schools that also offer rowing. Maybe nobody even knew about this. A lot of high schools have programs to where you can go out and get educated and get involved in a program in a sport like this. So being able to have that to show that, because there's so many schools that offer so many scholarships out, and it's going to just be such a gateway for
Right.
so many young
Yes.
athletes that have just, if they have one interest in it and they're like, well, maybe I'll go try it, and then They get
Yeah,
a school
they can-
paper for 4 years.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
can try it here. I mean, if you're not at the college level, there's Wichita Rowing Association. I mentioned that's for adults, but it is they have a youth program as well.
Right.
Those are some of the students that we see coming through here. But again, these are all student athletes. They're walk-ons because of the nature of the program we have here. It's not classified as an NCAA sport at Wichita State. It's an independent varsity sport. And so, as such, we're actually members of ACRA, which is the American Collegiate Rowing Association, which is 144 schools are part of that whole program. That'll be the final race of the season. They'll head to ACRA Nationals later this year. So
All
that'll be
right.
really exciting for them.
Getting ready for this race here. Let's head to the starting line with Aaliyah. Aaliyah, what do you see?
Well, I see Wichita State, the third boat, and IUPUI are pretty much at their start, and then we need the first Wichita State boat to kind of get their alignment, but it's pretty smooth sailing right now, even though the wind's picked up. But I have been enjoying your guys' commentary. This has been great, so shout out to you guys.
I'm so glad we have
Well,
one
thank
fan.
you.
Thanks,
Yes,
Aaliyah.
that makes me feel so much better about it.
We've enjoyed your perspective there at the start line as well today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
So what
Yeah.
have you thought about these starts recently, Aaliyah? I mean, you've been at the start line this whole time, what have you seen that, we're not seeing here off of the screens?
Well, you talked about how many novices there are, and I'm honestly really impressed with how good their starts are. I mean, racing starts,
Yeah,
they're
for sure.
something else. So
For sure.
I think they've all gone pretty smoothly, especially for novices. So, and then the veteran boats, you can definitely tell that they are vets by the way they get out and they start and just get so much ahead.
Yeah.
So great starts
I
though.
bet. Yes. I will second that. Like you said, for as many novices, there's 23 first-year athletes on the team, and seeing them row today, you wouldn't.
You would not think that they
You
were
know,
first years like that, no.
Yeah, they've been showing up and showing out, and it's really great to see. And to have 2 8s rowing in the final race from Wichita State, that's always a good sign that you've got enough members that can fill those boats.
Well, I mean, and we talked about this being a walk-on program, but the amount of, the quality of people that have walked onto this program, you know, showing here,
A lot of
they've had
dedication.
52 academic All-Americans and 23 All-Americans and 61 All-Regionals, and just to see that they've come in and done this, and like you were talking about earlier, we wouldn't know that they were first years by their starts.
Sure, they've been
You
doing
know?
awesome, and
So
yeah,
it's going to be exciting to see what happens with this group of people.
All right, looks like we're
definitely
getting close to the
getting
start here.
alignment. Yeah. So if you can see that closest to us, which would be lane 1, Wichita State Rowing, the coxswain has their hand up. They're getting a point. They're pretty close to that buoy. Again, not going to be a penalty in this race, but really not to your advantage, especially at a start. You don't want those riggers hitting a buoy and really throwing things off right in those first strokes. Would be a battle, and so that coxswain is backing up, getting a new point.
Looks like IUPUI is doing the same thing.
Yes, got
right
their
over
hand
that
up.
buoy there too.
Hand up means I am not ready at all. Keep in mind on a course when you've got about 7 or so, more boats to align or windier conditions and craziness, they can still call a start even if your hand is up. So that's something to keep in mind. But here it looks like they're probably going to be more friendly and conscientious of just helping everybody have a full point before they start their race. So that's good, and definitely getting
Definitely
those
know what
coxswains
you-
getting
yeah.
a good point. Because if you hit that buoy right when you start.
Well, and it's going to be a good practice for them too, because like you had talked about, they've got the ACRA's nationals that they're actually going to go and participate in this year, which they couldn't do last year. And that was one of the funnest times that I had when I
Yeah,
rowed. And they'll
nationals
be
is
there,
fun.
and like she had talked about, you've got those floating dock stations where you've got somebody leaning over in the middle of the water, holding it up, getting you ready, and. Like she
Oh,
said,
yeah, it's a whole
they'll start it when
experience.
you're not ready, and
Uh-huh.
you just gotta go, and you're like, oh, okay, we're doing it, we're doing it.
Exactly. And your rowers, are sharp. They're watching it, but you need them to be. You don't need a distracted rower at a start of like, oh, I didn't know we were starting. Your hand was
Right.
up. It's like, no, they can call it. We are going. So again, they're jockeying pretty good. I wonder if just getting a point was, it's blowing them. So could
Well, yeah, and we had this breeze, but hasn't been going against them. So they've really been able to use this to their advantage today. And, you know, we've talked about them having to back up every single time at the start line just because that current is just, it's wanting to move them.
Leah was saying how it's pushing them to shore side too, not just going with the race, but a little to shore side, closest, you know, to our shore side. So just navigating that and then jockeying and holding it while the other boats get in place.
And the wind has picked up a little bit. I think Aaliyah mentioned that too. You can tell on the water.
Yes,
But there
it
again,
really
it's
has.
working for
It
them
has,
and not
okay.
against them.
Yeah.
It looks like they're all in good position now. They're
Okay.
about to be
Yeah, sinking those
at
oars.
attention.
Getting those oars sunk
And
in
they're
the water.
off.
And
Last race of the day, bursts out the gate, getting strong strokes right away.
see Wichita State already on that first lane closest to us, just pulling away. IUPUI still staying in there pretty strong, though, for the most part. It's really going to be interesting to see where they all kind of stagger out with these first 500 meters.
We have in lane 1 is coxed by Tony Lee, and then as his stroke seat is William, followed by Joe, Alex, Grant, Hayden, Drew, AJ, and Ronald as bow seat. And then in lane 3, coxed by Will, we have Thane as the stroke seat, who we were able to interview earlier today, Edgar, Andre, Nick, Andrew, Peyton, Blake, and then Eli in bow seat. The middle lane is IUPUI.
So I'm really excited to see what Thane does here because, you know, like we had talked about, we had interviewed him earlier, and he stroked that 4,
Exactly.
and he's going to be stroking this 8. You know, and we had talked about how
sure.
every seat has a completely different role, and you need to know what that role is to fully be able to contribute to that boat and to that race.
Yes.
We're going to take another look at the start here.
Watching these power strokes, again, this is, you know, the men's boat's going to add a little more power than a woman's boat, but just because of the pressure that's in there. And here they go, just comparing the 3 boats side by side, watching those powerful puddles just get pushed with those blades. Pressure after pressure, and then usually a high 20, strong 20 to finish out the first 5 bursts.
And they're really, I'm sure there's a term for this, but they're really clearing the paddles with the water nicely.
yes,
They are.
They are.
I'm not sure if we can probably name it ourselves, but
Okay.
no. But
I
you're,
didn't know if there was an
but
official
you're
term for that.
absolutely right to be watching that because, you know, it's a cause for a crab if you're not, or that you're slapping extra water. So they're just doing a really good job of clearing and
It's
keeping
just a
it
really
set at the
clean,
same time.
smooth row right now.
Yes. So they are doing really good. Not looking tired yet, so
Not quite yet.
rooting for them to hold on tight to this.
And I think that they're in. I think they've got at least a boat's length of water between them and everybody else at this point.
And this will be the Kellogg Bridge.
I believe so. You see, I think IUPUI is actually in second here, passing Wichita State's other boat.
Could get interesting.
Yeah, very.
Watching what's going on there.
And IUPUIs, they've done such an amazing job, you know, with these bridges and the
I
conditions
agree.
today, and you know,
Other
being in something
equipment,
completely
yeah.
different
Subbing
and
in.
new. You know,
Right.
they've done a phenomenal job with that.
Definitely agree.
So it looks like we've got those first 500 meter times in. Yep, IUPUI at 152, Wichita State 143 and 158. So it does look like they're unofficially in second place right now.
Yes.
So like we had talked about earlier, super exciting to see how they're going to, you know, come out with these 8 people. You know, we hadn't seen IUPUI this close to Wichita State in some of these races beforehand, and
True.
now we've got this one here. It's going to be such a good finish and such a good race to end the day with.
Now, Wichita State is certainly, you know, not the last race of the season. We mentioned them going to the Dadville Regattas in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's actually next Saturday, May 8th. It's one of the oldest regattas in the United States, so it'll be very historic and very just memorable. It'll be full of pure rowing people and spectators, and they can just drink it all up and enjoy it. I'm so jealous and happy for them to get that experience. It's going to be amazing. Then on May 15th, they've got Oklahoma City racing. Then they have some training still to do in Louisiana. And they will end the season with the ACRA Nationals that I mentioned in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. It's a really great course there, so
It's
be
gonna
good
super
water for them.
exciting.
Yeah.
How many teams do you think will be in Philadelphia next week?
Not a normal year. I mean, there's hundreds, but
Right, with COVID.
I
and
don't know
everything,
the
I'm not
adjustments,
sure.
and I've heard that maybe they're limiting spectators, so I
Okay.
don't know what full experience it'll be. That's a good question. So
But usually it's hundreds.
yeah, I mean
Hundreds of
it's a
teams.
big deal if you
Yeah.
can make it out, and Head of the Charles is another big deal one that's in
Huge,
Boston.
yeah.
So speaking from experience from that one, it's full of people and international rowers and like.
And
It's
just
just
so
a
cool to
whole
see how many
event,
people
those
are
big
actually
ones.
involved in
Right.
this sport, you know.
Yeah, in Wichita, you're like, yeah, I do rowing, and people say, oh, you're on the bowling team, and you say, no, rowing, and they say, throwing? No, rowing. Well, where do you row? And you have to say,
Right.
well, on the river. And they're like, huh? So yeah, to go from this to go to an event where
Right.
everyone
Yes.
speaks your language and
Yes.
everybody knows, and it's a sport.
Really
True.
makes you feel
So
like you're really a part of something way, way
It's
bigger.
nice.
in life.
Here come the men right here, getting
All
close to the
right.
finish line. They are
Here
really
we
moving.
go. Oh, they're
Look
booking
at that.
it.
Wow, look at that. Now
This,
that is some movement on that boat.
Wow.
this would
Those are
be
some really big, long,
the 8
lengthy
that
strokes too.
Tony is coxing, and looks like he is getting them all strong to the finish. Right here, we're gonna hear that buzzer pretty darn soon.
You
There
can
they
hear him
go.
actually
Final.
counting down
Yes.
those last strokes. You
Did
know,
he
I
do
mean,
it right? Did he count accurate?
I think he missed one or two.
I
but,
told
you know,
him. I told him. No.
He got pretty close for the most
That
part.
was a great finish. It was beautiful.
Such an amazing finish. And
Beautiful
here's
for them.
IUPUI coming in second.
Also, yeah, they're making it look pretty easy.
They are.
They really are just really powering through at this very end here. You know, knowing this is your last race of the day, how close can I get my time? You know, what's my personal best? How can I push past that?
Exactly. Last few strokes of the day. Finishing strong.
Yeah, they did. Wow.
Right at that like 6:25, 6:26.
That's
Yeah.
some great times, and we've got Shocker rowing.
Coming up here. So I mean, one of the closest races other than that 4 that we've seen
Exactly.
today.
Yeah.
Yep.
So unofficial times being posted here.
Wichita State right under that 6 minutes. That's really going to be something to
Yeah.
strive for. And
They're
to
gonna want
beat,
it.
And
Oh,
they're
if-
going to want it.
Yep.
They're gonna want that for sure. You can hear that coxswain.
Counting down.
There we go.
There they are, right around
Right
7.
there, right
Yeah.
around 7.
Last race.
All right, what a great race to finish with today.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Definitely.
So
Good racing.
it is good
on
racing.
everybody. Yeah.
I mean, you know, considering everything that's, you know, gone on too, you know, just
Right.
an awesome opportunity for it.
There's our times. And we have Wichita State there in lane 1 at finishing at 5:55. IUPUI in second at 6:29. And then Wichita State lane 3 at 7:05.
Man.
Probably the closest race of the day.
Yeah, I would definitely say so for sure.
Yeah.
And they all had such good starts too, you know.
We're gonna see the end of the Wichita State 8 that came through first here and get a good look at their handsome strokes here. They were powering through. They were feeling it. You know it.
Yeah.
They were.
And when you hit that stride, there's no stopping them.
And they're getting such good clearance
Thane
with the oars
is,
too.
yeah, Thane is hungry. You can tell. He's just digging in and
He's
leading.
really wanting to get
he's
that.
leading them on. He's like, we're not done yet.
And
Here we
that's
go.
what
Look
you
at these
want in a good
catches.
stroke person
Catches
too.
going in exactly and finishing strong with the blade stroke. So
Because I mean, you're holding it. You know, yeah, we've got the coxswain up there too, and they're doing and they're motivating and they're doing everything that we can't do for that. Because it's hard to talk yourself up while you're
Right.
pulling as hard as you can. But just like having that mental mindset of I know what time I want to hit. I know that we can all hit this, and here's what we can do, and just executing it is
Exactly.
so
they
amazing.
totally did.
Right. What a great way to finish the Plains Regional Regatta today. It's been a pleasure to be with you and bring it to you today. I want to thank our sponsors once again. Allen's Upholstery, Boats and Bikes at River Vista, BG Products, Campers Recreation, Captain John's Boat Rights, and River Vista as well, where you can find the brand new Wichita State Boathouse and come out and have fun this summer.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And, of course, we want to thank Aaliyah Funshell at the start line for her great job today. and a pleasure working as well with Ellen Cupp and Lisa Burns.
Yeah. it was
Yes, thank
great
you so
working
much,
with you,
Dave. It's been
Made it-
awesome to be with you today.
It's been great to be here. You guys made it easy, and thank you for watching. A great day for Wichita State rowing, and we will see you again next time. Have a great weekend.